Chapter 581. When Lin Yuan heard this fairy-like cry, he immediately looked at the golden nest formed by the phoenix perching parasol tree's branches. The golden bird's nest formed by the branches of the phoenix perching parasol tree seemed to be brewing a gorgeous sunrise. The moment the resplendent light rose like a sunrise, it covered the bright reddish-gold flames burning among the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree's branches and leaves. A cat with 3 tails was squatting beside the snow-white Elysium Pure Land. Wagging its tail, it looked expectantly at the sunrise that was about to rise above the nest. Her face was filled with happiness from the bottom of her heart. At this time, the kitten with 3 tails twitched its ears, sensing that someone had appeared behind it. She immediately turned around and started running. In just a few steps, she had scurried into Lin Yuan's embrace and spoke in a childish voice. "Yuan, Chimey is about to wake up." When Lin Yuan heard Genius' childish voice that was filled with happiness and anticipation, he placed Genius on his shoulder. He rubbed his clever little head and said, "When Chimey wakes up this time, it will undergo the most thorough transformation in its evolution." As he spoke, he looked in the direction of the golden nest. He discovered that the rising sun-like radiance had covered his vision, making it impossible for him to see Chimey's figure within the radiance. Chimey's grade was about to advance to Fantasy 3. Apart from anticipation, Lin Yuan was more worried. In essence, Chimey was a sound bird that couldn't even be considered a fae. Chimey had received Lin Yuan's ability, and its body had been injected with a huge amount of pure spirit qi to evolve. This meant that every step that Chimey took was pioneering the sound bird's lineage. Every step he took was an exploration in the epic of life that was filled with thorns and obstacles. For an existence like Chimey that had evolved step by step from a low-level life form, it was extremely difficult for it to raise its quality from a fantasy breed. If he had not coincidentally obtained the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree, which was suitable for Chimey to improve its quality, he would not have been able to do so. Even if he had so many resources in his hands now, he did not dare to guarantee that he could upgrade Chimey to Fantasy 3 at this moment. The phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree could increase the quality of avian fays and purify their bloodline. There was also a certain chance for the avian fays bloodline to mutate toward the one phoenix species. This allowed Chimey to use the opportunity of advancing to Fantasy 3 to completely confirm the bloodline in its body. It could be said that this hurdle was indeed the biggest hurdle in Chimey's evolution history. Once they crossed it, they flapped their wings and soared to the 9th heaven. Genius' intelligence was extremely high, so it could naturally understand what Lin Yuan was saying. Genius immediately tensed up and asked anxiously, "Lin Yuan, will Chimey be as painful as last time when it evolves?" Genius still remembered the painful cry that Chimey had let out when it was evolving into a twilight starbird after advancing to a fantasy breed. Since Lin Yuan said that this was the greatest metamorphosis in Chimey's evolution, Genius was very worried about Chimey. Lin Yuan said hurriedly, "Chimey's evolution process might be very painful, but the possibility of an accident happening is very small. It is very rare for a fantasy breed fae to evolve its bloodline and increase its quality. After a fae becomes a myth breed, it will need to undergo the world cleansing every time it increases its quality and face the danger of being annihilated at any moment. Therefore, during the process of reforging its bloodline, Chimey will only have to suffer some pain at most." After hearing Lin Yuan's words, Genius was finally at ease. It lay on Lin Yuan's shoulder and stared at the golden nest without blinking. Lin Yuan couldn't help but lament that Genius and Chimey had a really good relationship. At that moment, the rising sun instantly turned into a ball of dense luster that spread out. Chimey's figure was finally revealed. The cloud patterns on Chimey's azure blue feathers were completely revealed, and even the stars that were faintly discernible in the cloud patterns were flickering intensely. All of a sudden, Chimey's cry became abnormally painful, and the pleasant sound was like a cuckoo weeping blood. After the mournful cry, Chimey's body was like a small sun that was enveloped by a layer of resplendent sunlight again. However, even though this ball of sunlight was dazzling and covered Chimey's figure, it couldn't hide the blood mist that surged out from the sunlight. The blood mist in the sunlight caused Genius to be so worried that its small claw involuntarily popped out. It left a deep mark on Lin Yuan's spirit chi clothes on his shoulder. Lin Yuan's heart tightened, but he didn't have the slightest idea. Lin Yuan knew that everything that was happening to Chimey was a necessary process for its bloodline to evolve. It was just like how Genius Foundation was just 100 questions beast. In the future, when Genius evolved into a fantasy breed or even fantasy 3, it would have to go through the same process as Chimey. The layer of resplendent sunlight that enveloped Chimey looked abnormally beautiful with the contrast of the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree's golden leaves. However, Chimey's mournful cry didn't stop for a moment. Lin Yuan keenly noticed that Chimey's mournful cry suddenly carried a trace of special pressure. This pressure was similar to the one that Blackie had emitted when it had awakened its flood dragon species bloodline. However, the lingering charm of the pressure was very different. At the same time, the pressure that Chimey emitted was much purer than the pressure that Blackie had emitted. Lin Yuan's eyes lit up as he immediately thought that this should be because Chimey had been perching on the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree. The Luan phoenix species bloodline in its body had awakened. An avian fae awakening the Luan phoenix species bloodline in its body could be said to be a great opportunity. It was just like how a fish fae had a chance to awaken a flood dragon species bloodline under certain circumstances. If a flood dragon species fae evolved again, there was a trace of a chance that its bloodline would evolve into a main dragon species. If the Luan phoenix species bloodline evolved again, it might evolve into a main phoenix species. Just as Lin Yuan thought that Chimey was about to awaken the Luan phoenix species bloodline in its body and complete its evolution, something unexpected happened. All of a sudden, something unexpected happened. As Chimey wailed in pain, the pressure and charm it emitted changed. A kind of bloodline lingering charm that belonged to Chimey burst out from its body. The lingering charm of Chimey's bloodline appeared very weak under the pressure of the Luan phoenix species bloodline. However, under Chimey's will, this bloodline that belonged to Chimey refused to be devoured by the Luan phoenix species bloodline. Instead, it used the power of a sparrow to clash with the Luan phoenix species bloodline. Lin Yuan immediately understood Chimey's intention. Chimey wanted to devour and assimilate the Luan phoenix species bloodline that it had obtained from the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree and make it a part of its own bloodline. Upon sensing Chimey's persistence and the changes in its body, Lin Yuan immediately thought, "This is bad. I'm begging for monthly votes and recommendation votes." End of this chapter. Chapter 582. Chimey was using its will to change the evolution of the bloodline in its body. To a large extent, it was equivalent to interfering with its own evolution. In the ball of light that wrapped around Chimey, Lin Yuan seemed to vaguely see Chimey's body being torn and deformed by the Luan Feng bloodline in its body. It was as though it was being kneaded into a twisted meatball. Lin Yuan looked at Chimey's body being pulled and twisted into a meatball, and his heart suddenly tightened. His thoughts froze all of a sudden. Given Chimey's current physical condition, it should have long lost consciousness due to the intense pain. What was happening now was that Chimey's subconscious was leading the sound bird bloodline in its body to devour the Luan Feng bloodline. Lin Yuan suddenly remembered that when Chimey had just evolved into a meteor bird in the Xia region's face store, it had been standing on his ear and chirping. Although ordinary people could not understand Chimey's chirping, Lin Yuan and Chimey were connected by a contract, so he could understand the meaning it had conveyed at that time. "Lin Yuan, look at my piercing voice. Chimey's singing has become better, and it can even protect Lin Yuan and Genius." Lin Yuan did not take the meaning of Chimey's chirping to heart. After all, he had not been sure if he could become a combat class spirit chi professional. However, as early as when Chimey had evolved into a twilight starbird, Lin Yuan had found that Chimey had been very stubborn about the unorthodox sound type in its sound bird bloodline. Otherwise, when Chimey had evolved into a fantasy breed, it would have completely transformed into a light-type fae. It would not have preserved the sound type in its body and become a sound and light-type fae. Chimey's stubbornness had been preserved until now when it came to the choice of bloodline. It still stubbornly chose to choose the sound bird bloodline that originally existed in its body. In order to preserve the sound bird bloodline, it had frantically chosen to use the sound bird bloodline to devour the Luan Feng bloodline. In the face of Chimy's stubbornness, Lin Yuan could only support it as a contractor. Lin Yuan had always treated Chimy as his fae but as his family. Therefore, during the evolution process, Lin Yuan could not use his contractor identity to change Chimy's subconscious choice. Otherwise, he could circulate his spiritual power as a contractor and order Chimy, which was subconsciously, to stop the sound bird bloodline from devouring the Luan Feng bloodline. Instead, it guided the Luan Feng's bloodline to devour the sound bird's bloodline in order to successfully complete its evolution. Lin Yuan anxiously waved his hand and activated the Pure Land of Bliss in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. The white gravel glowed with a sheep-fat jade-like luster, and a bright luster gushed out from between the gravel. These lustrous lusters were like pure white fireflies that flew out from the Pure Land of Bliss. They constantly gathered at the light blob that Chimy had evolved into. It was to nourish and repair Chimy's body, which had been kneaded into a meatball. However, even with the Pure Land of Paradise's ability to recover damaged origins, it could only ensure that Chimy's body wouldn't be torn into pieces by the intense resistance from the Luan Feng bloodline. However, it could not completely heal Chimy. Genius had already leaped from Lin Yuan's shoulder to the ground. It looked at Chimy, who was inside the sphere of light, with concern. Its blue eyes were already bloodshot and red. Genius wanted to ask Lin Yuan about Chimy's situation several times, but it saw that Lin Yuan was activating the Pure Land of Bliss to heal Chimy. Genius didn't dare to ask Lin Yuan as it was afraid that Lin Yuan would be distracted. It could only look at Chimy inside the sphere of light with bloodshot eyes. Its front paws were placed together as though it was praying that Chimy could tide over this crisis. The Pure Land of Paradise's ability to recover damaged origins had been in a stalemate with the Luan Feng bloodline for 15 minutes. Lin Yuan realized that although the sound bird's bloodline was being forced back by the Luan Feng bloodline at the start, Morbius' exclusive skill, the Pure Land of Paradise, had healed it for a period of time. Chimy had subconsciously allowed the sound bird bloodline in its body to wear down the Luan Feng bloodline. Now, the sound bird bloodline had actually faintly assimilated a portion of the Luan Feng bloodline. This gave Lin Yuan hope. It seemed that Chimy's subconscious intention of letting the sound bird bloodline devour the Luan Feng bloodline could be realized. Lin Yuan immediately started to rummage through the amber button-shaped diamond phase storage box for spirit chi crystals. When he had enhanced the Jasmine Lily to Platinum/Fantasy 3, there were only 71 spirit power crystals left. Lin Yuan had taken out another spirit chi crystal to help the insect queen recover from its injuries. Thus, before he had fainted in the dimensional rift, he had only been left with 70 spirit chi crystals. In addition, the Spirit Lock spatial zone had produced 2 new spirit power crystals while he was unconscious. Therefore, Lin Yuan now had a total of 72 spirit chi crystals. He took 20 of the 72 crystals and threw them into the resplendent light sphere that was wrapping around Chimy. Since Chimy wanted to use its sound bird bloodline to devour the Luanfeng bloodline, the only possibility was when Chimy became a gold/fantasy breed. He could only succeed if his body recovered to its peak condition. As the 20 spiritual power crystals were being eroded by the energy in the ball of light, the 20 spiritual power crystals disappeared. The massive and pure spiritual power in the spirit chi crystal erupted and surged into Chimy's body, which had been pulled into a meatball by the Luanfeng bloodline. With the infusion of spirit chi from the 20 spiritual power crystals and the Pure Land of Bliss's ability to restore damaged roots, Chimy's body instantly glowed with new vitality. Although Chimy no longer let out violent cries, it could still be vaguely seen from the ball of light that its body was constantly deforming under the confrontation of the two bloodlines. Time ticked by. Just as Lin Yuan faintly felt that the spiritual power in his body was no longer enough to activate the Pure Land of Bliss and was about to remove the spiritual power imprint on his body, suddenly, an unusually soft and clear sound echoed from the light. Upon hearing this clear sound, Lin Yuan felt as though he was bathing in the clearest sunlight. He saw the endless blue and the gurgling stream not far away. The breeze, the flowing clouds, the water droplets, the grass, and the morning dew that was just about to disperse. The purest and most beautiful sounds in nature were fused together at this moment. They were not even 1/10 as pleasant as this clear sound. Accompanied by this clear sound, the leaves of the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree, which preserved hundreds of mid-grade strange flames, flashed in an instant. The mid-grade strange flames sealed in each leaf had different characteristics, which determined the color of the flames. The hundreds of different colored flames seemed to turn the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree into a golden immortal tree under the seven-colored aurora. Just as this resplendent sunlight merged with the aurora-like halos emitted by the hundreds of mid-grade strange flames, wings that were more dazzling than auroras flapped in the ball of light. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 583. Once again, Lin Yuan was shocked by the miraculous life epic during the phase evolution process. Chimi's body, which had been pulled into a meatball in the ball of light, had once again turned into a blue bird. This time, the feathers on Chimi's head might not have grown much longer, but they were more curly than before. Chimi's feathers had also become even more azure. If the blue color of Chimi's feathers had been the purest blue color in nature, however, Lin Yuan could no longer find any words to describe the blue color of Chimi's feathers now. It was because the blue color of Chimi's feathers seemed to come from the deepest part of one's soul. It was as though the blue color came from the deepest part of one's soul. However, after looking at Chimi's evolved appearance, Lin Yuan could not help but raise his brows. Since when did Chimi evolve so plainly? Just as this thought appeared in Lin Yuan's mind, clouds instantly lingered on Chimi's azure feathers. Another clear chirp that was like the moistening of spring rain echoed. The feathers also changed from azure to gilded due to Chimi's chirp. The gilded color was like the radiance of the warm sun in the middle of the night. At that moment, a few purer golden veined patterns appeared on the feathers on Chimi's back as compared to the other gilded feathers. It was as if these lines were the warm sun of the 3-9 scorching suns themselves. When Chimi flapped its wings, the golden patterns on its back were like suns. It was as though a rising sun was about to rise above the cloud patterns on Chimi's wings. At the same time, Chimi's sparrow-shaped tail changed shape. Chimi's body was originally half the size of a palm, but its suddenly lengthened tail was already as long as Lin Yuan's arm. Chimi's short sparrow-shaped tail turned into 8 elegant tail feathers. Each tail feather was the same color as its wings and was covered with gorgeous cloud patterns. The ends of the tail feathers were dotted with star imprints, and when they fluttered, it was as though they were dragging a galaxy across the starry sky. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yuan was certain that Chimi had used its sound bird bloodline to completely devour the Luan Feng bloodline. Otherwise, Chimi would not be able to maintain the appearance of a blue bird if it did not circulate its energy. Instead, it should have always looked like this. If Chimi had advanced to a fantasy breed and evolved into a twilight starbird, it would have been like the stars in the clouds appearing at dawn. Now, Chimi could be said to be the sun will illuminating the world and overturning the galaxy. He used Morbius True Data to check Chimi's attributes. Fey name, Qingyin Luank, spirit species, peacock/Luan, Fey grade, gold, 110, Fey type, sound/light, Fey quality, fantasy III skills frowny face broken jade sound, fires a gigantic musical note with the sound of jade shattering towards a target. The sound of jade shattering has a certain interference effect. At the same time, after the gigantic musical note is attacked, it will shatter into 10 spiraling sonic spikes. Bathing light, the body is bathed in clear sunlight. The sunlight can quickly recover the life force that the body has expended. Sunlight ray emits all kinds of rays from the sun. The rays will cause negative weakening to the target. At the same time, the sunlight ray can increase the plant phase activity when shining on it. Absolute nirvana light retains only a trace of the body's vitality and seals it in the sun wheel of the wings. The rest of the vitality will be burned into sunlight energy. Before the sunlight energy in the life disappears, the body will be immune to most physical and elemental damage. Exclusive skill. Frowny face. Clear sky. After the crisp chirp of a bird, the clouds will disperse, and the sun will be summoned. The sky will be clear, and the darkness will disperse. Radiant body. Rapidly absorb the sun's power. A large amount of sun energy will gather in the body to form the radiant body. He discovered that Chimy's level had indeed evolved to Gold I/Fantasy 3 after he invested 20 Spirit Chi crystals. Chimy's name had also evolved from the original Twilight Starbird to Qingyin Luank. The Luan was in front, and the sparrow was at the back. Chimy had used its Sound Bird Lord bloodline to suppress and devour the extremely noble Wan Phoenix bloodline among avian fays. Not only had Chimy taken a path in evolution that no one had taken before, but even its bloodline had taken a path that no sparrow species fay could take. When Lin Yuan carefully looked at Chimy's abilities, his eyes could not help but widen. He found that after Chimy's bloodline evolution, its abilities had undergone a huge change. He remembered that Chimy's normal ability, Sound Thrust, was to shoot 3 sharp thorns formed by sound at a designated target. Now, Chimy's first ability had become Sound Shattering Strike. Sound Shattering Strike could shoot a huge rune with a jade shattering sound at a target. This ability itself did not have any highlights, as the huge rune with sound could be easily resisted. However, the effect of Chimy's huge rune with the jade shattering sound was not to attack but to control. After controlling the huge rune and shattering it, the 10 spiral sound thrusts hidden in the huge rune were the hidden killing intent of the jade shattering strike. The changes in Chimy's normal ability had already given Lin Yuan a pleasant surprise. However, when he saw the elite ability, Bathing Light, Lin Yuan frowned slightly. Previously, Chimy's elite ability wasn't Bathing Light, but Scattered Light. Chimy could scatter scattered light rays from its body and let the light rays have a burning and controlling effect. Although Scattered Light's burning and control effect wasn't strong, it had indeed increased Chimy's attack methods. Now that Scattered Light had become Bathing Light, its original attack and control ability had become an endurance ability. However, in terms of recovery ability, Lin Yuan was a healing-type Spirit Chi professional. Now, Lin Yuan's healing-type Fey, the Jasmine Lily, had reached Platinum/Fantasy 3. Although the Jasmine Lily was becoming more and more unorthodox on the healing-type Fey path, it was still considered Lin Yuan's strongest Fey. However, it had to be said that the Jasmine Lily was now Lin Yuan's strongest Fey. The Jasmine Lily was enough for Lin Yuan to effectively heal most of his Feys. As for the silver ability, Sunlight Ray, it was not much different from before. However, there was a new Sunlight Ray behind the Sunlight Ray. When it shone on a plant Fey, it could increase the plant Fey's activity. When he saw this ability, he immediately thought of his contracted red thorn. Not only red thorn, but even the sea of flowers that red thorn spawned were also plant Feys. Increasing the plant Fey's activity was equivalent to increasing the plant Fey's regeneration ability. This could also have a good linkage with the sea of flowers that red thorn spawned. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 584. When Chimy used Sunlight Ray to attack an enemy unit, if there was a sea of flowers spread out by red thorn beside the enemy unit, then, the Sea of Flowers' overall combat ability would also increase under the effect of Sunlight Ray's increased activity. When Lin Yuan checked Chimy's new Gold/Fantasy breed ability, Nirvana Light, Lin Yuan subconsciously patted his forehead with his hand. He glanced at Chimy, which was flying toward him happily and was about to land on his ear, and shook his head helplessly. It was fine that Chimy stubbornly insisted on the Sound Bird bloodline during the evolution process. But when did it become so reckless? Nirvana Light could burn all the vitality in the body into sunlight energy, which was equivalent to providing Chimy with a means to exchange vitality for explosive damage. When used together with the exclusive skill, Radiant Body, it could burst out with a multiplied attack effect. In addition, before the sunlight energy in Nirvana Light disappeared, Chimy could be immune to most physical and elemental damage. This allowed Chimy to use Nirvana Light and enter Radiant Body, greatly increasing its defensive ability. This allowed Chimey to ignore the enemy's damage, to display the greatest attack effect. Of course, Nirvana Light's damage immunity did not include spiritual damage and poison-type abilities. However, it was enough to be immune to most physical and elemental damage. After seeing Nirvana Light, Lin Yuan suddenly felt that Bathing Light, which he had previously thought was useless, did not seem so useless anymore. Bathing Light could make up for Nirvana Light and squeeze out Chimey's vitality to the last trace. Together with the Jasmine Lily's healing ability, it could increase Chimey's recovery speed. It was also very likely to allow Chimey to carry out a second wave of attacks in a match. As for Chimey's exclusive skill, Radiant Body, there was no change. However, Clear Sky had changed a lot in Lin Yuan's opinion. Previously, the exclusive skill, Clear Sky, was nothing more than making the dark clouds retreat and the sky clear, which had a strong restraining effect on water-type attacks. But now, apart from making the sky clear, it could also summon the morning sun. When it was a silver/fantasy breed, Clear Sky would only let the sky reveal the light of stars at night. Now that Chimey used Clear Sky, it could let the sky bloom with sunlight. Even if Chimey fought at night, Bathing Light could still be used. At the same time, he secretly thought that Chimey's exclusive skill, Clear Sky, seemed to have become somewhat special after its evolution. True data showed that the exclusive skill, Clear Sky, could summon the morning sun, but it was naturally impossible for Chimey, a gold/fantasy breed. At present, the best Chimey could do was to summon sunlight at night. However, if Chimey became a myth breed, it would be able to use its exclusive skill, Clear Sky. Could he summon the sun at night and turn night into day? As for Clear Sky's new effect, Darkness Retreat, it made him scratch his head. It seemed like the exclusive skill, Clear Sky, had a restraining effect on dark-type phase. Lin Yuan had already checked through Chimey's abilities and exclusive skills, so he had a rough idea of them. However, the actual combat effect was obviously unable to be displayed in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. If he asked Chimey to use Nirvana Light and its exclusive skill, Radiant Body, to test its attack ability in the Spirit Lock spatial zone, it would not be able to do so. It would be equivalent to Lin Yuan tearing down the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Lin Yuan felt that he was not a husky, and he would never do something like tearing down a house. Chimey flew to Lin Yuan's ear and affectionately pecked his hair before rubbing its little head against Lin Yuan's cheek. When Chimey was rubbing against Lin Yuan's cheek, it saw Genius looking at it worriedly with red eyes. Chimey immediately jumped onto Genius's little head. It used its delicate beak to help Genius comb the soft and dense fur on its head. Then, Chimey immediately became like the chatterbox in the past and cried out. However, Chimey's chirping had been bird chirping previously, but it was now speaking fluent Mandarin. Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan. Smart. 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 Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan. Smart. 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 Lin Yuan had previously realized that Chimey always liked to chirp 6 times no matter what. Even if Lin Yuan and Chimey were telepathically connected, Chimey's subconscious chirping was obviously not using its brain. Lin Yuan could not use his spiritual energy to clearly capture the meaning of Chimey's chirping. Lin Yuan had always treated Chimey's chirping 6 times as Chimey's mantra. However, now that Chimey could speak, Lin Yuan finally understood. It turned out that Chimey had always treated its chirping 6 times as its mantra. 3 times were for Lin Yuan's name, and the other 3 times were for Genius's name. Lin Yuan originally thought that if Chimey still could not speak properly after evolving into Fantasy 3, he would definitely teach it a good lesson. But now, Chimey could communicate like a normal person. Furthermore, no sound fetish would be able to reject Chimey's human voice. Not only was Chimey's human voice pleasant to listen to, but it was also filled with spirit chi and had a lively flavor. It made people abnormally relaxed after listening to it, as though they were sitting on the grass and looking at the blue sky while bathing in the sunlight. Lin Yuan extended his finger toward Chimey, and Chimey immediately flew onto his finger. The plume on its head leaned forward and scratched Lin Yuan's palm as it spoke. Lin Yuan, Chimey had a lot of dreams when it was asleep. 80% of the dreams were about you and genius. After saying that, Chimey suddenly felt a little guilty and didn't say the rest of its words. Even if it was beaten to death, Chimey would never say that the remaining 20% of its dreams were about it live streaming on Star Web. Although Chimey had successfully evolved and was on a brand new path that no Fae had taken, be it in terms of bloodline or evolution direction, Lin Yuan still felt abnormally worried. When he recalled Chimey's evolution process, Lin Yuan still felt abnormally worried. Lin Yuan looked at Chimey and very seriously asked a question that he had always wanted to ask. Chimey, why do you care so much about the sound bird bloodline in your body? When Chimey heard Lin Yuan's words, its small brain subconsciously recalled a rainy evening. It had been packed in a cardboard box and had been brought home by a youth. At that time, the youth had used a towel to wipe the feathers on its body that had been drenched by the rain. Then, he had revealed his small white teeth and said to Chimey, "Don't be discouraged, little fellow. Don't be discouraged, little fellow. I'll call you Eneen, okay? I'll definitely teach you a song." The youth's encouragement was the first ray of light in Chimey's bird life. It was also the brightest ray of light that Chimey had ever seen. Even when Chimey had seen the resplendent sunlight during its evolution, it couldn't be compared to the dazzling light that the youth in Chimey's heart had given it. This light was the light of redemption that Chimey had seen when it had failed to evolve and wasn't even qualified to be a commodity. It had been packaged up and sold like trash. This light of redemption had given Chimey a home in the cold world. Chimey once again landed beside Lin Yuan's ear and said softly, "No matter when, Chimey wants to be able to stand on Lin Yuan's ear and sing for Genius and Lin Yuan like in the past. Sing the song that Lin Yuan and Genius like. Sing the song that Lin Yuan taught me over and over again." The second song. Seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 585. Upon hearing that, a smile bloomed on Lin Yuan's face. "Chimey, I remember you wanted me to teach you how to sing before you fell asleep. It just so happens that I also have a song to teach you." Then, Lin Yuan started humming. Upon hearing that Lin Yuan wanted to teach it to sing, Chimey's eyes immediately lit up. Drops of dew, staining the sleeves. The bright sun is charming, gently untying the lotus boat. The reeds are flourishing, the sparrows chirping. By the white stone stream, the setting sun chases the stream. But the golden wind and jade dew make the journey too long. Our hearts are linked, and we conspire. The road ahead is rugged, and we climb, and we guard together. 100 years of dusk for you, to the day. Leaning against the mountains and facing the water, the scenery looks old. And your beauty surpasses all, the mountains and rivers are all in one's eyes. Chimey jumped from Lin Yuan's ear to his shoulder. It tilted its head and carefully listened to every note in Lin Yuan's song. As a sound bird, Chimey had always only had one person as its first teacher, and that person was Lin Yuan. However, ever since Chimey had started live streaming on Star Web without discussing with Lin Yuan, it always felt like it was doing something guilty when it came to learning how to sing. Therefore, every time Lin Yuan sang, it could not tell him that it wanted to learn songs. It could only secretly rely on the sound bird's powerful talent for tunes to secretly learn Lin Yuan's songs. However, the feeling of secretly learning to sing was completely different from standing on Lin Yuan's shoulder and listening to him take the initiative to teach it. Chimey could not help but wonder if Lin Yuan would have any thoughts when he received the surprise box from it next year. However, Chimey had a premonition that its sparrow voice lowly goddess identity might not be able to be concealed at any time. Chimey did not remember how long it had slept to evolve its bloodline, nor did it know if the fans who listened to it singing on Star Web missed it. When Chimey had been singing on Star Web previously, it had only been singing. It had never said a sentence that was not a song. All of a sudden, Chimey had the thought of greeting the audience in the live streaming room the next time it live streamed. But before Chimey could think of a reason, a voice suddenly rang out. Chimey was completely attracted by Lin Yuan's song. As a sound bird, Chimey had a strong talent for music that was engraved in its genes and bloodline. Naturally, they also had their own understanding and preferences for music, so they could easily distinguish between good and bad songs. The song that Lin Yuan was teaching him now was very similar to the first song that Lin Yuan had patiently taught him over and over again. The more Chimey listened, the more excited it became. It had already started to flap its wings and dance around in the air along with Lin Yuan's humming. Genius had also climbed onto Lin Yuan's shoulder and laid down quietly, as though it could not get enough no matter how much it laid down. Enjoying the rare tranquility of time. Genius and Lin Yuan had made a trip through the dimensional rift and survived. However, being able to survive inside the dimensional rift was akin to having a new lease of life. This caused Genius's heart to mature quite a bit. After a calamity, he saw his sleeping partner, Een, wake up. He felt extremely happy. But at that moment, Genius suddenly noticed 2 scratches on the spirit chi clothes on Lin Yuan's shoulders. Genius immediately realized that these 2 scratches were caused by its sharp claws that had accidentally extended out from Chimey's pink flesh pad when it saw Chimey's body being mashed into a ball of flesh. Genius immediately acted like a child that had done something wrong and used its flesh pad to gently rub the skin on Lin Yuan's shoulders that had scratches under the spirit chi clothes. While rubbing, Genius lowered its head and opened its mouth to take 2 gentle breaths of air. It imitated how Lin Yuan had taken care of it and chanted in its heart. Lin Yuan, Genius will blow on it, and it will not hurt anymore. Lin Yuan stopped after humming the song in his memory. Lin Yuan's singing wasn't considered very good, but it was much better than ordinary people. Furthermore, Lin Yuan had a habit when listening to songs. He would firmly remember the lyrics of the songs that he liked to listen to. Therefore, Lin Yuan would be able to roughly remember the lyrics of the songs that he knew. There might be a few lines that he couldn't remember. However, Lin Yuan would complete the lyrics according to the melody and meaning of the lyrics. After listening to Chimey's voice, Lin Yuan felt that if Chimey's voice was used to sing, it would be most suitable to sing ancient songs. The wording of ancient songs was gentle and elegant, just like fragrant tea paired with thin wine. It was fresh and tranquil, but it also had a trace of meaningful charm that wasn't strong. Lin Yuan already knew that Chimey liked to sing, but he now realized that Chimey loved to learn songs. Lin Yuan decided to teach Chimey one of those ancient songs that he had an impression of after a period of time. As a sound bird, it was very easy for Lin Yuan to teach Chimey. Chimey only needed to sing it once, and it would basically learn the entire song. When Lin Yuan saw Chimey flapping its wings excitedly, he asked with a smile, "How much did Chimey remember? How much did Chimey remember? Do you need me to sing it again?" In response, Chimey flapped its wings and landed on the cinnabar sweet osmanthus's branch. As the cinnabar sweet osmanthus had been nourished by massive and pure spiritual power in the spirit lock spatial zone and had been planted in the pure land of bliss, it had also received a trace of Earth's grace's baptism. This caused the cinnabar sweet osmanthus, a plant fey that didn't have many flowers, to be filled with vermilion osmanthus flowers. Once Chimey landed, it was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. It caused the vermilion osmanthus flowers, which were barely hanging on the branch, to rustle down and form a colorful red flower rain. A faint osmanthus fragrance filled the air, and the sweetness in the fragrance made the air a little gentle. At that moment, Chimey learned the tune that Lin Yuan had just sung and started to sing softly. Upon hearing Chimey's singing voice, Lin Yuan felt that he was instantly attracted by Chimey's singing voice. It was as though a painting had appeared in front of him. Or perhaps, Lin Yuan himself seemed to have walked into the painting and become the person in the painting who was looking at the scenery. Lin Yuan seemed to have seen a young lady in front of him, rowing a boat under the beautiful sun. Singing elegant love songs, living by picking lotuses, bathing in spring and autumn together, day and night. Waiting for a person to return by the white stone stream, praying for the tender feelings of the east wind to make the jade couple. Lin Yuan was already used to Chimey's singing voice, but he was still shocked by Chimy's evolved voice. Now that Chimy had learned the human voice and was singing, it wasn't how much its voice had improved or how much its singing technique had improved. Just the emotion between the words was enough to make the whole song more lively. If Chimy had been comparable to those masterclass singers in Lin Yuan's previous life in all aspects before its evolution, if Chimy's singing voice was in Lin Yuan's previous life, music fans would probably call it the #1 songstress in the universe. Even the Trisomorphs would become fond of flowers and peace after hearing Chimy's singing voice. However, at that moment, Lin Yuan's heart suddenly thumped. He saw that the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia, which was originally growing on the cinnabar sweet osmanthus, had actually fallen from the tree trunk in the rain of vermilion flowers. This scene reflected in Lin Yuan's eyes, and he suddenly felt as though his lifeblood had been shaken off. Lin Yuan quickly walked forward and used true data to check the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia's attributes. Chapter 586. With one look, Lin Yuan immediately felt relieved and revealed a joyful expression. Thanks to true data, he knew that the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia leaving the cinnabar sweet osmanthus tree wasn't because of any problems. Instead, it was because the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia had already accumulated enough energy from the cinnabar sweet osmanthus and successfully advanced to the platinum level. It had become a fully grown earth fae and could already bear fruits. There was no need to stay on the trunk of the cinnabar sweet osmanthus all day. Everything in the natural world depended on each other, and there would always be giving and receiving. It was the same for the cinnabar sweet osmanthus and cinnabar osmanthus haworthia. The cinnabar sweet osmanthus had always used its body's energy and nutrients to nourish the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia. This was not because the cinnabar sweet osmanthus was selfless. Actually, the main reason was because the cinnabar sweet osmanthus was lusting after the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia's children. It was the fruit of the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia. As a parasitic earth fae, the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia might not have any intelligence. But he also knew that someone was thinking about his child. The scene that was happening before Lin Yuan's eyes was the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia preparing to run off to produce the cinnabar sweet osmanthus energy for free. Lin Yuan only wanted to say that the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia had been worried for nothing and the cinnabar sweet osmanthus had been thinking about it for nothing. The cinnabar sweet osmanthus child can only be mine. He dug a hole in the white sand of the pure land of bliss and placed the matured cinnabar osmanthus haworthia inside. Then, he waved his hand and called the wind speed rapid antelope over. In the future, when you see the beans growing on this thing turn from green to silver, pluck them immediately. The wind speed rapid antelope understood what Lin Yuan meant and immediately tapped on its head to indicate that it understood. Lin Yuan rubbed the wind speed rapid antelope's head and looked at the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia. With the head butler around, you can forget about protecting your children. Lin Yuan had entered the spirit lock spatial zone in the middle of the night to work hard, but he had not expected to coincide with Chimy's evolution. It should be around 3:00 in the morning, almost 4 o'clock. However, Lin Yuan still had enough time. Lin Yuan checked the remaining 52 spirit chi crystals and pondered for a moment. He summoned Red Thorn from the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box, planning to take advantage of Chimy's evolution. He upgraded the acid corrosion Queen Bee from gold rank level 1 to platinum rank to make up for the red thorny flower's combat ability. To increase the killing intent of the assassin hidden in the sea of flowers. After experiencing the dangers in the dimensional rift, Lin Yuan had developed a new understanding. Since he had spirit crystals on hand, he might as well maximize his strength. The amount of spirit chi crystals required to upgrade the acid corrosion Queen Bee from gold I legacy to platinum I legacy was about the same as upgrading a silver/fantasy breed fae to gold/fantasy breed. Therefore, after raising the acid corrosion Queen Bee's strength to platinum I legend, he would still have over 30 spirit chi crystals left in his hands. It was more than enough for daily consumption. After plundering the earth baptism, Lin Yuan obtained a large number of spirit chi crystals. Lin Yuan's view of spirit chi crystals had also quietly changed. He was no longer as meticulous with every spirit crystal as he used to be. Moreover, Lin Yuan was already planning to let the pure land of bliss get another wave of earth grace. After having this thought, Lin Yuan felt that he was simply the most hated person by myth-breed fays. The pure land of bliss coveted the earth grace that myth-breed fays seemed to have undergone earth baptism. The sacred sword-hugging queen coveted the law crystals in myth-breed fays. With this thought, Lin Yuan felt that he was indeed a little hateful. He could totally change his name from Lin Yuan to Hateful Lin. Lin Yuan still had one willpower rune in his spiritual energy that he had yet to use. The blue flash purple butterfly, genius, and black were all stuck at Bronze X legacy. Without a suitable willpower rune, they could not become fantasy breeds. Moreover, red thorn could only evolve and increase its quality by devouring flesh and blood. Therefore, the blue flash purple butterfly, genius, black, and red thorn did not have the fortune to enjoy the spirit chi crystals. Only the jasmine lily, chimey, the source sand, and the acid corrosion queen bee could consume the spirit chi crystals. Since chimey and the source sand had already become gold/fantasy breeds, they would need to consume 10 spirit chi crystals for each grade. Lin Yuan had to admit that he could not afford to feed them now. As for the jasmine lily, even if he squeezed every drop out of it, it would not be able to evolve by 1 grade. Therefore, Lin Yuan could only rear the acid corrosion queen bee. He could only afford to rear the acid corrosion queen bee. After Lin Yuan summoned Red Thorn, that slippery vine wrapped around Lin Yuan's waist and refused to let go. As for the mouth of relinquish, it was letting out a rumbling sound. Without needing to think, Lin Yuan knew that Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish was rapidly digesting the water world dimensional lifeform's flesh. When Chimey and Genius saw that Lin Yuan had summoned Red Thorn, they each landed on one side of Red Thorn's gill-shaped petals. The gill filaments in Red Thorn's gill-shaped petals opened up, extending the red flower that originally had a diameter of 1 meter by more than double. The gill filaments were like a gauze net that enveloped Genius and Chimey before gently swaying. The gauze net, which allowed Genius and Chimey to feel comfortable, blocked the swing. Lin Yuan used his hand to rub Red Thorn's smooth vine and suddenly felt that it was rather smooth. Lin Yuan said to Red Thorn, "Red Thorn, summon the acid corrosion queen bee." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's instructions, Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish trembled. The acid corrosion queen bee that was sleeping in the mouth of relinquish was poured out like trash. On the other hand, the acid corrosion queen bee wasn't annoyed after being knocked out by Red Thorn. Instead, it pounced on Red Thorn like a bootlicker. Lin Yuan could not help but shiver when he saw the acid corrosion queen bee's performance. In Lin Yuan's heart, the acid corrosion queen bee could already be considered an artist. The acid corrosion queen bee was a source-type lifeform that displayed the art of flattery to the extreme. Lin Yuan reached out to grab the acid corrosion queen bee's flapping wings and brought them close to him. He checked the level of the acid corrosion queen bee. After checking the level, Lin Yuan raised his brows in surprise. When he had just enhanced the acid corrosion queen bee, it had only been gold eye. During this period of time, Lin Li didn't know how much acid the acid corrosion queen bee had drunk in Red Thorn's stomach as a bootlicker. It had actually leveled up to gold rank 4. The acid corrosion queen bee originally wanted to lick Red Thorn but was stopped by Lin Yuan. It was obviously a little unwilling. However, when it thought of Red Thorn's attitude toward Lin Yuan, the acid corrosion queen bee's trace of unwillingness immediately vanished. Instead, it was thinking about how to make its wings softer so that Lin Yuan could pinch them more comfortably. Lin Yuan didn't say anything and took out 16 spirit chi crystals and crushed them. A massive amount of pure spiritual power swept toward the acid corrosion queen bee. He let the acid corrosion queen bee evolve toward platinum or legacy. The evolution of an ordinary fae was far from as big as the evolution of a fantasy breed fae. However, in Lin Yuan's opinion, the acid corrosion queen bee's posture during the evolution process was somewhat abnormal. It was even comparable to the posture of Chu Ci's sharp iron horn bull when it evolved into a fantasy breed obsidian iron wild bull. Chapter 587. The original body of the acid corrosion queen bee was only about 15 centimeters long. Its slender body had a dark red metallic luster. There were also strange dark green markings hidden under the dark red metallic luster, with a cruel and ferocious beauty. Suddenly, the evolving acid corrosion queen bee's body became illusory. This illusory was not because the frequency of the acid corrosion queen bee's wings was too fast, making it impossible for Lin Yuan to see its movements with his naked eye. Instead, the dark red and dark green markings on the acid corrosion queen bee's body were constantly fading. It was as if the acid corrosion queen bee was stripping the colors out of its body bit by bit. Then, the metallic luster on the acid corrosion queen bee's body became even richer. This rich metallic luster made the acid corrosion queen bee look as if it had become a transparent existence. The acid corrosion queen bee seemed to have become a metal mirror. Despite being in the spirit lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan could still see the acid corrosion queen bee's existence. However, the acid corrosion queen bee's presence was undoubtedly much weaker than before. Lin Yuan could not help but think. If the acid corrosion queen bee flew among the flowers formed by the red thorn, its mirror-like metal body would reflect the scene in the flowers. It could perfectly hide in the flowers and be an assassin waiting to kill its target. The two sharp stingers on the acid corrosion queen bee's forelimbs had also become more slender. The sharp tip of the stingers had a penetrating cold glint. Obviously, the penetrating power and sharpness had greatly improved. However, in Lin Yuan's opinion, the biggest change was the two stingers at the back of the acid corrosion queen bee's tail. At this time, the stinger on the acid corrosion queen bee's tail was much shorter than before, and it was far less aggressive than before. However, when Lin Yuan looked closely, he found that the two stingers at the back of the acid corrosion queen bee's tail had become two segments. Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly and shook his hand gently. The amber button-shaped source sand on his wrist fell on the rain and turned into rolling quicksand. These quicksand gathered at his feet and protected him like a guard. The acid corrosion queen bee had now completely evolved into a platinum legendary fae. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and ordered the acid corrosion queen bee. Acid corrosion queen bee, use your exclusive skill 2-hit kill on the sand wall. He pointed at his feet and immediately let the guard sand form a sand wall. The source sand had completely digested the mountain-containing embryo. However, after digesting the mountain-containing embryo, the source sand did not upgrade its quality to Fantasy 3 as Lin Yuan had expected. It seemed like he wanted to raise the source sand's quality to Fantasy 3 in the future and undergo a huge transformation. Lin Yuan still needed to do something else. However, when the source sand's quality reached Fantasy 2, it gave birth to the guard sand, which made him very happy. In terms of defense, the guard sand that could surround him was second only to the four wings formed by the day and night spirit silver. Upon hearing his order, the acid corrosion queen bee did not fly toward the sand wall like before. Instead, it lifted its tail, and two air-piercing sounds echoed. Lin Yuan saw two short stingers appear on the sand wall formed by the guard sand. He immediately looked at the acid corrosion queen bee's tail and saw that its two stingers had become one. After this attack, the acid corrosion queen bee's aura had clearly weakened a little. However, Lin Yuan could see with the naked eye that a new stinger protruded from the bottom of the two stingers that had turned into one. The two stingers that had turned into one became two again. After looking at the acid corrosion queen bee's tail, Lin Yuan lowered his head and was shocked to find that the center of the sand wall formed by the guard sand had disappeared. It had turned into a pool of liquid. Obviously, the two poisons contained in the two stingers had disintegrated the source sand, which was a pure elemental body. The source sand was now a gold I/Fantasy 2 existence that was about to become a gold I/Fantasy 3 existence, while the acid corrosion queen bee was now a platinum I source type life form. According to grade and quality, the source sand was a little stronger. When Lin Yuan had nurtured the elemental source type source sand, he had let the source sand mainly take the defensive route. Even so, the guard sand, which was full of high-purity ferromanganese, had still disintegrated into liquid. If this hit a body of flesh, the damage would be unimaginable. In the previous Star Web duel, Lin Yuan had commanded the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to use its exclusive skill, 2-hit kill. However, while Lin Yuan had affirmed the 2 one-hit kill's destructive power, he had also discovered the limitations of the 2 one-hit kill. The 2-hit kill required the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to fly close to the target and stab the 2 stingers at the target's back into the same spot. This could be an extremely harsh thing in a battle. However, now that the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee had reached Platinum, the evolution of the stingers made the exclusive skill 2-hit kill more flexible. Lin Yuan used true data to check the advanced Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's attributes. Fey name, Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, Fey species, Vesperdilionity/Stinger species, Fey grade, Platinum, 110, Fey type, Source/Poison, Fey quality, legendary abilities Frowny Face Wing Stealth, flaps its wings at a high frequency. The rapid flapping of the reflective wings causes the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to enter a certain stealth state. Bone-piercing stinger, the rotating stingers with super hardness and impact force rapidly attack, causing bone-piercing injuries. Parasitic wasp pupa, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's stingers can release a rapidly incubating parasitic wasp pupa into the target's body. Acid-swallowing larva, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee will hatch a large number of acid-swallowing larvae when there is enough acid. As the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's food, the acid-swallowing larvae can quickly recover the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's consumed energy and venom reserves. At the same time, the acid-swallowing larvae will replicate a portion of the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's mother's genes. If the mother dies, the replicated genes in the acid-swallowing larvae will be activated, allowing the acid-swallowing larvae to become the new mother. Acid corpse bee goo consumes a large amount of acid in the body to produce an acid corpse bee goo. The acid corpse bee goo resides in a dead fey or dimensional life form and can control the movement of the dead fey or dimensional life form. If the acid corpse bee goo's host fey or dimensional life form is not activated by the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, it will once again turn into a chrysalis. Exclusive skill Frowny Face 2-hit kill, the 2 stingers carry 2 different kinds of acid corrosion venom. If the 2 stingers hit the same part of the target, the 2 kinds of venom will fuse and instantly disintegrate the target's body. Lin Yuan was originally prepared to see the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's newly comprehended abilities after reaching Platinum. However, he was attracted by the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's gold ability, Acid Swallowing Larva. Chapter 588. After all, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee had yet to evolve into a fantasy breed. Unlike fantasy breed phase, there was a high chance that their abilities would change along with their grade. An ordinary phase advanced ability would be upgraded, and it could be considered a very rare occurrence. However, it wasn't like Lin Yuan had never encountered such incidents before, as he used evolved phase as a cultivation method. However, after the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee advanced to the Platinum level, its gold level skill, Acid Swallowing Larvae, had changed a little too much. If only the Blade Queen Bee, the mother of the blade worms that he had encountered in the evolving dimensional rift, had the same ability. In that case, Zhou Luo would not have survived no matter what. He could not help but wonder if the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee had comprehended the true tomb of a bootlicker when it was licking Red Thorn. He had successfully advanced from an excellent bootlicker to a fearless bootlicker. Moreover, this dog was not afraid of death and had mastered the Impure Earth reincarnation ability. This allowed the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to be a more terrifying assassin than terrorists in battle, specializing in suicide attacks. The Acid Corrosion Queen Bee had stored countless acid-swallowing larvae in Red Thorn's mouth of Relinquish. These acid ingestion larvae had the capital to make the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee happily jump on the edge of life and death. The Acid Corrosion Queen Bee could even use the acid-swallowing larvae as a combat tool. During the battle, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee could let Red Thorn transport the acid-swallowing larvae through the pipe connected to the child rabbits. Then, after death, the acid-swallowing larvae would resurrect and suddenly assassinate the target. At the thought of this, Lin Yuan felt goosebumps all over his body. When he saw the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's Platinum ability, He looked at it in surprise again. He felt that the acid corrosion queen bee was not only a courageous bootlicker but also a super freeloader. The acid corrosion queen bee parasitized Red Thorn's body. As Red Thorn evolved, it was able to get all sorts of benefits for free. As a queen bee, the acid corrosion queen bee had the ability to produce. However, the acid eater larvae were only used as food. Even if the parasitic pupae hatched in the target's body, most of them would not be able to escape the fate of being devoured by the acid corrosion queen bee. She was clearly a queen bee, but she was like a commander without an army. Now, the acid corrosion queen bee's platinum ability gave the acid corrosion queen bee a chance to have subordinates. However, for the acid corrosion queen bee's subordinates to be born, they still needed to freeload the shells that other fays had painstakingly grown. In his opinion, the acid corpse bee goo was indeed worthy of being the parasitic source-type life form, the acid corrosion queen bee's child. Sure enough, she took after her mother. She was just like her mother. He planned to experiment with the acid corrosion queen bee's platinum ability, acid corpse bee goo. The acid corpse bee goo was free, but in Lin Yuan's opinion, it still had strategic significance. Goo goo to corrosion queen bee to bee was to the acid to the queen bee to bee to. Dimensional corrosion dimensional lifeforms were to. Of the bodies of A to B to B to B. To B to. Compared to Fei. Goo, goo. Yang to B to. Goo, corrosion goo. Lin, goo. Lin, goo to. 2. In short, the acid corpse bee goo's applicability to the internal environment of dimensional lifeforms was good news to Lin Yuan. However, he did not know which dead dimensional lifeform was the most suitable for the acid corrosion queen bee to produce the acid corpse bee goo. Suddenly, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. He thought of water world dimensional lifeforms. He didn't have a strong underwater combat ability, so could he use this method to make up for it? However, with just this thought, he immediately rejected it. The acid to corrosion queen bee parasitized Red Thorn's body. It could be seen as one with Red Thorn. The dimensional life form parasitized by the acid to corrosion queen bee's platinum ability was undoubtedly suitable to fight in flowers. If it was a water world dimensional life form, it would have no supporting effect on Red Thorn's combat ability. Red Thorn now had the ability to breathe underwater and could be considered a member of Lin Yuan's underwater combat power. However, there were very few opportunities for a landlubber like Lin Yuan to fight in the water. Therefore, it was the most cost-effective to parasitize dimensional lifeforms that were suitable for fighting on land. Dimensional lifeforms that fought on land had too many choices. However, Lin Yuan felt that those powerful land-based dimensional lifeforms were not suitable to fight in Red Thorn's Sea of Flowers. An abyss-dimensional creature like the Horned Demon was strong, but when fighting in the Sea of Flowers, the Horned Demon alone would destroy the child plants in the Sea of Flowers. This was a restriction on Red Thorn's combat ability. Lin Yuan thought for a while and sighed. He took out the heart-penetrating iron line from his leaf-shaped diamond face storage box. Among the dimensional lifeforms that Lin Yuan currently had, the heart-penetrating iron line, which had a large body and could use the flowers for assassination, was undoubtedly the most suitable one among the dimensional lifeforms in his hands. However, in Lin Yuan's opinion, this was obviously not the best choice. There were many types of dimensional lifeforms in dimensional rifts, and many of them would evolve and mutate during their growth. Lin Yuan planned to pay more attention to auctions related to precious dead dimensional lifeforms in the future. He wanted to see if he could get an existence that had evolved and mutated. If there was a suitable one, he could get it for the acid corrosion queen bee. Anyway, as long as there was enough acid in the acid corrosion queen bee's body, there were no specific restrictions on producing acid corpse bee goo. However, Lin Yuan's idea was defeated by reality. He let the acid corrosion queen bee choose the heart-penetrating iron line of various grades and choose a body that the acid corpse bee goo could control to the limit. After a series of choices, the acid corrosion queen bee chose a heart-penetrating iron line that was equivalent to a platinum eye. Lin Yuan's eyelids twitched as he watched the process of the acid corrosion queen bee stabbing the heart-penetrating iron line's body. The acid corrosion queen bee's stinger was already abnormally sharp after reaching platinum, but it still took so much effort to pierce the heart-penetrating iron line's body. He could not help but sigh at the strength of the heart-penetrating iron line's body. After the acid corrosion queen bee stabbed the stinger into the heart-penetrating iron line's body, its body trembled like a sieve. After pulling out the stinger, the acid corrosion queen bee fell to the ground without even the strength to flap its wings. Lin Yuan hurriedly used true data to examine the acid corrosion queen bee. Chapter 589. He found that the acid corrosion queen bee actually entered a weakened state after producing an acid corpse bee goo. Furthermore, he had been weakened for a full 3 days. According to True Data's detection of the acid in the acid corrosion queen bee's body, Lin Yuan speculated that the acid corrosion queen bee would need at least 1 month to recover if it wanted to use the platinum acid corpse bee goo once. At that moment, Lin Yuan really felt that the acid corrosion queen bee was like a woman. After giving birth, she had to spend 3 days in confinement, and then cool down for a period of time before she could give birth again. However, the cool-down period of the acid corrosion queen bee was much shorter than that of a human woman. With a wave of his hand, Lin Yuan retrieved the remaining heart-penetrating iron line that the acid corrosion queen bee had not chosen. After a series of tests, he also understood the limits of the dimensional lifeforms' bodies that the acid corpse bee goo could control. That was, the strength of these dimensional creatures couldn't exceed the acid corrosion queen bee's strength when they were alive. In just a few minutes, Lin Yuan saw that there seemed to be something constantly crawling in the heart-penetrating iron line that had been injected with the acid corpse bee goo. When this thing climbs to the head of the heart-penetrating iron line, the entire heart-penetrating iron line began to twist its body. Lin Yuan sensed the heart-penetrating iron line state and realized that the acid corpse bee goo controlling the heart-penetrating iron line was no different from a living heart-penetrating iron line. If there was a difference, it would be that the heart-penetrating iron line controlled by the acid corpse bee goo would not be affected by fear and pain. It became a puppet that only obeyed the acid corrosion queen bee's orders. The acid corrosion queen bee let out a buzzing sound as it fell to the ground. Following this buzzing sound, the body of the heart-piercing iron wire controlled by the acid corpse bee goo immediately shrunk. It slowly turned into a black pupa that was less than half the size of Lin Yuan's finger. In its weakened state, the acid corrosion queen bee could not even get up. Thus, Lin Yuan let Red Thorn wave its vines to recall the acid corrosion queen bee and the acid corpse bee goo back into its body. 1 month might seem very long, but Lin Yuan didn't mind it at all. According to this speed, the birth of 12 puppets per year had far exceeded his expectations. After evolving the acid corrosion bee, he stored Red Thorn back into the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box. He allowed Red Thorn to continue devouring the water world dimensional lifeform's flesh to produce the eye of relinquish and nourish the blood brew grapevine. He turned around and realized that Genius and Chimey were on the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree's trunk, looking rather mysterious. He had no idea what he was fiddling with. Lin Yuan shook his head and didn't disturb Genius and Chimey. He was preparing to get busy with his own matters. At that moment, the source sand at Lin Yuan's feet squirmed rapidly. Something was spat out from the sand. Lin Yuan took a look and found that this pile of things was the golden metal discs that he had not had time to put away in the dimensional rift, as well as the 30 source-type items that he had taken out of the dimensional hub and fainted. He didn't expect the source sand to help him keep these things after he fainted. Lin Yuan felt that the source sand was simply too thoughtful. 30 source-type items were a considerable amount of wealth for him now, but what really surprised him was not these 30 source-type items. Instead, it was the pile of golden metal discs. With these metal discs, Lin Yuan no longer needed to be like a henchman, constantly replenishing the energy ores in the spirit pool every once in a while. The energy ores in the beetle-shaped diamond face storage box were divided into nearly 100 golden metal discs. These golden metal discs ate all the energy ores in the beetle-shaped diamond face storage box. Lin Yuan stacked nearly 100 golden metal discs at the bottom of the spirit pool. Together with the ginkgo leaf-shaped butterfly shell flowers that covered the bottom of the spirit pool, it looked quite beautiful. This way, even if Morbius evolved into a fantasy-breed spirit-lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan would be able to sleep peacefully for a long time. Lin Yuan shook his body and took out the 2 golden peonies from the face storage box. He placed them together with the 108 starlight grasses and 36 floating cloud flowers. Then, he summoned Zhou Luo's contracted bronze/epic dark snake dragon lizard and rotten mud lizard, as well as the fairy source-type burning sunflower and bronze X/epic Vidra butterfly he had prepared for Chu Ci. He took the remaining 36 spirit chi crystals for the acid corrosion queen bee to reach platinum. After calculating for a while, he directly crushed 2 of the spirit crystals. Since Morbius was already asleep, he could only guide the spirit chi in the 2 spirit chi crystals toward the burning sunflower, the Vidra butterfly, the dark snake dragon lizard, and the rotten mud lizard. Soon, the burning sunflower, the Vidra butterfly, the dark snake dragon lizard, and the rotten mud lizard were all under the effect of this vast and pure spiritual energy. He had successfully advanced from bronze/epic to bronze/legendary. Then, he continued to direct the spirit chi toward the 108 starlight grasses, 36 floating cloud flowers, and 2 golden peonies. The starlight grass and floating cloud flower that he had chosen were mostly bronze 7/elite and above. This saved him a lot of spirit chi consumption in the spirit chi crystals. The 108 starlight grasses, 36 floating cloud flowers, and 2 golden peonies all started to increase in quality and grade, but there was a slight deviation from Lin Yuan's calculations. The 2 spirit chi crystals had been upgraded from bronze/epic to legendary due to the previous 4 phase. As a result, over 20 starlight grasses did not reach bronze X/epic due to the lack of spirit chi. Lin Yuan thought for a while and crushed another spirit chi crystal. But this time, the spirit chi in 1 spirit chi crystal was clearly not completely consumed after promoting over 20 starlight grasses to bronze X/epic. There was still a lot left. Lin Yuan sensed the remaining spirit chi and pondered for a moment before guiding the remaining spirit chi into the 2 golden peonies that had reached bronze X/epic. Under the nourishment of the remaining spirit chi, the 2 golden peonies successfully advanced to bronze/legendary. The burning sunflower, Vidra butterfly, dark snake dragon lizard, and rotten mud dragon, which had been upgraded to bronze/legendary, did not have much change. If there was a change, it would be that the rotten mud dragon had evolved into the rotten mud shield dragon when it reached bronze. The rotten mud shield dragon was considered a variant of the rotten mud dragon with enhanced defense, but its appearance did not change much. However, when these 2 golden peonies that relied on their faces were promoted from bronze/epic to legendary, they retained the dignity of relying on their faces. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 590. The layers of golden petals began to bend backward rapidly, and the tiny petals inside turned from a single layer to multiple layers that grew outward savagely. The golden dress peony's face, which relied on its face to make a living, expanded by more than twice. However, in Lin Yuan's opinion, the golden dress peony's beauty had increased by at least 10 times. The golden dress peony itself was useless to Lin Yuan. He had chosen to enhance it because Chu Ci's Vidra butterfly needed to pick the golden dress peony's pollen to become a fantasy breed. Moreover, the pollen of the golden dress peony, a metalwood fay, was usually used to feed the golden dress peony's Vidra butterfly to become a fantasy breed. The golden dress peony's outstanding point was only its appearance and not its special fragrance. However, it was also because it did not have any fragrance that it was more suitable to be used as a decoration in the mansion. When Lin Yuan saw that the remaining 36 spirit chi crystals had suddenly become 33, he felt a heartache. However, time was of the essence. Lin Yuan had set the time to announce his private territory's functions and open the territory to the public on the 3rd day of the new year. Therefore, If Lin Yuan wanted to rely on his own ability to slowly upgrade these 108 starlight grasses and 36 floating cloud flowers to bronze/epic, it was obviously impossible. After this extravagance, Lin Yuan decided that he would not be so extravagant in the future. Since Lin Yuan used the spirit chi crystals, he completed the huge workload in less than 20 minutes. After he was done, he realized that Genius and Chimey were nowhere to be seen. He looked up and saw two vague figures leaning against each other between the leaves at the top of the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree. Lin Yuan thought that Genius and Chimey were resting, so he left the Spirit Lock spatial zone and logged onto Star Web. He did not know that the moment he logged onto Star Web, his two little fellows in the Spirit Lock spatial zone had set off a storm on Star Web on the eve of the new year. In the Chalon Guild Club's training base, two youths were sitting in front of a table in a room with very distinctive decorations. One of the youths with peach blossom eyes was drinking, and he choked on a mouthful of strong alcohol, causing him to cough. The other youth looked at the youth with peach blossom eyes with a hint of worry on his face. The mature and steady young man looked around the room that could be used as a cloakroom and said to the young man with peach blossom eyes who was drinking alone, "Bai Hao, I won't be accompanying my girlfriend for Chinese New Year tomorrow. How about I go shopping with you? Looking at your room, it's been 2 months since you properly changed your clothes." As he spoke, Wang Fan recalled Bai Hao's usual speed of buying clothes in a month. He knew that Bai Hao's depression was not an act. Wang Fan knew that Bai Hao liked to listen to songs. In the past few years, Bai Hao would often listen to some live streamers singing on Star Web in his spare time. However, there had never been a situation where people were frantically tipping him. Bai Hao had only been following a live streamer for about 2 months. How could Bai Hao be in such a state? This made Wang Fan, one of the Iron Triangle, both confused and worried. Bai Hao rolled his eyes at Wang Fan and said listlessly, "If you don't accompany your girlfriend, won't your girlfriend get her bears to jump up and squash me to death when our team is playing?" Wang Fan scratched the back of his head awkwardly. His wife was indeed a little fierce. However, his wife's bears were definitely not fierce at all. They were punished by his wife to stand at the door with him in the middle of the night. As a station mate, Wang Fan felt that those bears were really silly. "It's the All-Star competition the day after tomorrow. Both of us will have to go. You mustn't drink so much during these 2 days and harm yourself. Otherwise, if someone really chooses you to challenge or instruct you, it won't look good if you're too listless and get photographed by the Star Web reporters." Bai Hao rubbed his slightly red peach blossom eyes and said indifferently, "Anyway, Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess isn't live streaming. I won't have any fun in this life if Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess doesn't live stream. Just let me drink until I die." When Wang Fan heard Bai Hao's words, he pouted helplessly and pretended not to hear it. Not only did Bai Hao have a sharp tongue, but he was also a classic tsundere. As Bai Hao's close friend and teammate, Wang Fan was already used to Bai Hao's character. Wang Fan was about to persuade Bai Hao again when Bai Hao's phone suddenly rang. Bai Hao picked up the phone slowly and listlessly, but a moment later, Wang Fan noticed that Bai Hao's eyes were shining brightly. It was as if he had found something that he had lost. He was surprised, excited, and precious. Wang Fan didn't know what had happened, so he simply said what he wanted to say. "Bai Hao, I remember that you only like to listen to old-fashioned songs. The songs sung by that Star Web streamer, Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess, really don't have any old-fashioned songs. How about..." Before Wang Fan could finish speaking, Bai Hao's originally gloomy face immediately turned into a mischievous one. His red and peach blossom eyes also curved, filled with the joy of a peach blossom. "What the hell do you know? It's true that I like ancient songs, but as long as it's the voice of the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess, I like it." Wang Fan pursed his lips when he heard Bai Hao's words. He had already guessed why Bai Hao suddenly became a master of changing faces in Sichuan opera. She must have received news of the Star Web streamer Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess rebroadcast. Wang Fan heard Bai Hao say, You said before that you will accompany me to go shopping tomorrow, and I will allow it. Give your thanks. Wang Fan immediately objected. You're completely fine now, and you're even happier than me. I'm not going shopping with you. Otherwise, I'll have to stand the whole night with those bears on New Year's Eve. Not going, not going. Accompanying my wife is the most important thing. Bai Hao snorted lightly when he heard that. If you don't go on New Year's Eve, you'll be punished to stand. I'll bring you food in the middle of the night. After speaking, Bai Hao did not care that Wang Fan was still there and immediately logged into the Star webcard. He came to the live stream room that made him dazed countless times in the middle of the night. As soon as he entered the live broadcast room, Bai Hao was surprised to hear an ethereal and gentle voice. Thank you, everyone, for always supporting me, the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess. Now, I will sing a song that I have just learned. Bai Hao cursed in his heart. The sparrow-voiced lowly goddess had actually spoken. Bai Hao quickly exchanged the 1 million radiance dollars in his Star webcard into gifts and sent them over. Originally, he had planned to send out 10 in a row, but before he could do so, he had already fallen into the song. The first one was even better. Seeking monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 591. Bai Hao saw the back of a woman beside the white stone stream under the breeze. The woman's back was facing him, and she was singing the song that he was hearing now. The melodious singing was the most gentle shackle. Unknowingly, her heart, which was already beating wildly, was firmly locked up. Lin Yuan logged into Star Web and immediately set off for his faction territory. Since he was going to his Star Web private faction territory this time, he wore the mask made by Hu Quan. His Star Web private faction had yet to publish its functions, so he thought it would be very quiet. However, as soon as he entered, he found 7 or 8 people standing outside his private territory chatting. Lin Yuan was a little puzzled at first, but when he heard the content of their conversation, Lin Yuan's face was immediately covered with black lines. Lin Yuan logged into Star Web and immediately set off for his faction territory. Since he was going to his Star Web private faction territory this time, he wore the mask made by Hu Quan. Since his Star Web private faction had yet to publish its functions, he thought it would be very quiet. However, as soon as he entered, he found 7 or 8 people standing outside his private territory chatting. Lin Yuan was a little puzzled at first, but when he heard the content of their conversation, Lin Yuan's face was immediately covered with black lines. Why do you guys come here in the middle of the night every day? Are you so good at watching the show? You're talking about us. You're the only one who doesn't pull seats every day. Speaking of which, you're quite sinister. You come to mock this rising faction called Sky City at a fixed time every day. I'm not mocking this rising faction, Sky City. I just feel that it's a little pitiful. Although the Nut Mercenaries are also a newly established force, if I were to encounter a member of a private force like Sky City, I would also be willing to donate some items to the newly established force, Sky City, to show off their reputation. The others looked at this member of the Nut Mercenary faction and felt as though they had eaten a fly. We've agreed to leave here later and go to your Nut Mercenary faction territory to watch the show. Your Nut Mercenary faction territory doesn't have any hard goods, yet you're still using such a high and mighty tone to want to give charity to other rising factions? Is he worthy? The pot calling the kettle black. Lin Yuan smacked his lips and glanced at them, lamenting that they were really free. Isn't it better to sleep in the middle of the night? Lin Yuan ignored them and walked into his Star Web private territory. The others had noticed Lin Yuan as soon as he arrived. At first, they only thought that Lin Yuan was just watching the show. However, he didn't expect the newcomer to be a member of Sky City. After entering the private territory, Lin Yuan checked the visitor records of his faction territory. He realized that it had taken him 5 minutes to look through the visitor records from the early hours of this morning. Thus, he gave up on the idea of checking the visitor records. At that moment, Lin Yuan realized that he had received an email from the Star Web officials in his faction territory's mailbox. When Lin Yuan saw it, he felt that he had a lot of small question marks. During this month, his Star Web private faction territory had actually appeared on the private territories visitor list. Star Web's private territories had many rankings on the official website. Most of the rankings were relatively authoritative. It could symbolize the status of Star Web's private territory. Although a list like the visitor list was not considered an authoritative list, it was still considered a higher ranking. However, among the many non-authoritative lists, it was still considered to be one of the more valuable ones. After all, the visitor list represented the number of visitors to the Star Web private faction territory every day. Lin Yuan might feel happy if his Star Web private faction territory was only on the visitor list after it had published its functions. However, his Star Web private faction territory had not even published its functions. To put it bluntly, it was no different from an empty space. An empty space naturally would not attract people. In other words, these visitors were all here to watch the show. It was also because of these spectators that Sky City's private territory was ranked as high as 87th on the list of visitors. Even now, he was still in the 98th place on the list of friends. Lin Yuan had not put much thought into the Star Web private faction territory recently. He did not expect that his inadvertent action of not turning off the private faction territory's access authority would make a joke of himself to so many people. However, although Lin Yuan felt speechless about this situation, he did not think of a way to stop it. The current situation was equivalent to these people who came to watch the show helping Sky City to do free publicity in advance. Lin Yuan still did not intend to set up the Star Web private territory's exterior. However, Lin Yuan and the Class 5 spirit craftsman Hu Quan had spent a lot of effort on the interior design. Lin Yuan took out all the things that he had swept in through the Star Web card and piled them on the hall's floor. Then, he hung Hu Quan's wheels carved from various completely jade-textured wood on the wall in the hall. These completely jade-textured wheels decorated the walls everywhere in the hall, contrasting with the bluish-white wall tiles in the hall and giving off a different kind of nobility. Then, Lin Yuan used the golden threads that Hu Quan had extracted from the completely jade-textured gold-threaded Nanmu and connected the roulette wheels together. There were a total of 108 wheels made of completely jade-textured wood. There was a groove in the center of each wheel, and Lin Yuan placed a bronze/epic starlight grass in each groove. As a kind of fey that mainly played a decorative role, the starlight grass itself could also release weak spirit chi. Moreover, the star-like leaves of the starlight grass would automatically sway from side to side. The sway of the starlight grass's leaves made each wheel spin, which drove the gold-threaded Nanmu's golden threads to wander. At the same time, the spirit chi released by the starlight grass made the completely jade-textured wheels and the golden threads extracted from the completely jade-textured gold-threaded Nanmu's bodies emit a prison-like luster as they rotated. The shining golden threads and the shining star patterns on the starlight grass leaves seemed to form a constellation of many stars. It was as though it was daytime, but the stars in the sky had transformed into a celestial sign that towered over the blue sky. Those rotating wheels were like rudders that were unmanned but freely rotating in the sky. Above the heavens, these freely rotating rudders seemed to be using the golden threads to control the fate of all things in the mortal world. At that moment, the interior layout of the Star Web private territory could be called an unparalleled scene. Second update, seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 592. Although it was already an unparalleled scene, Lin Yuan was not done with his setup. Then, he placed the 36 bronze/epic floating cloud flowers on it. Each floating cloud flower was placed between the 3 rotating wheels. In an instant, a hazy cloud rose from the floating cloud flower, obscuring the bright stars and the wheel. However, the bright starlight could not be completely covered, and the clouds rising from the floating cloud flowers only added a hint of haziness and an immortal aura between the wheels and the stars. Lin Yuan's setup was basically completed. Lin Yuan thought for a while and raised his hand to put away the completely jade-textured wooden table that Hu Quan had just ordered. He did not replace the ordinary wooden table that had been gifted when he had built the Star Web private faction territory. The ordinary wooden table was like a myriad manifestation of mortality, which was holding a bronze/legend oath lily of the valley. Each of the bell-like white flowers of the oath lily of the valley flickered with a faint light from time to time, as though they were collecting the oaths and faith of the mortal world for the stars under the control of the heaven wheel. After Lin Yuan left his Star Web private faction territory, he found that the number of people watching the show outside was more than 5 times more than before he had entered. Moreover, people were still coming over one after another. Obviously, after those people realized that he had entered, they had called for more people to watch the show. Lin Yuan could not help but sigh. Did these people not need to sleep during the new year? Could watching the show make a living? Lin Yuan did not have time to waste with these people. He only needed to wait until the 3rd day of the new year to show the grand scene inside Sky City's private faction territory that was like in the clouds. After Lin Yuan exited Star Web, he pulled out the cinnabar sweet osmanthus from the pure land of bliss in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Then, he took the cinnabar sweet osmanthus to the courtyard and prepared to plant it in front of the mansion's main entrance. Lin Yuan had kept the cinnabar sweet osmanthus in the Spirit Lock spatial zone because of the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia. He was a child who craved the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia to improve his spiritual energy. Now that the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia had left the cinnabar sweet osmanthus, Lin Yuan wanted to pour out the pure land of bliss in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. In any case, the damaged source of the cinnabar sweet osmanthus that had its tree core dug out had long since recovered. Just in time for the new year, an osmanthus was planted in front of the house. It could be considered as the new osmanthus entering the house, adding a bit of nobility to the house. The sky was already starting to brighten, and just as Lin Yuan was commanding the source sand to dig the pit, a voice suddenly rang out. Wen Yu's voice suddenly came from beside him. "Young master, you haven't slept all night. Why don't you have a little purple Ganoderma lamb soup that Lu Jia simmered last night?" Wen Yu knew that Hu Quan's contracted vitality sloth had restored Lin Yuan's vitality qi. Lin Yuan couldn't fall asleep no matter how hard he tried. However, she didn't expect Lin Yuan to be preparing to plant flowers in front of the mansion early in the morning. Wen Yu was a spirit attendant of the Radiant Moon Palace, so she naturally recognized the cinnabar sweet osmanthus at a glance. The cinnabar sweet osmanthus was not considered an outstanding species among all the osmanthus flowers. If they had to be ranked, they could only be ranked in the upper middle class. They couldn't even enter the upper class. However, the most interesting thing about the cinnabar sweet osmanthus was that the probability of mutation during the process of evolution was extremely high. It was rumored that one of the 10 famous osmanthus species, which was already extinct, was constantly mutated from the cinnabar sweet osmanthus. Even the Moon Empress had chosen a few cinnabar sweet osmanthus to plant in the osmanthus garden on Leaning Moon Mountain. Many of them had been promoted to superior osmanthus phase after evolving and mutating. However, in Wen Yu's impression, even the most flourishing cinnabar sweet osmanthus in the osmanthus garden on Leaning Moon Mountain was not half as flourishing as the one in Lin Yuan's hand. Looking at the clusters of blooming scarlet flowers, the tough cassia branches were already trembling under the pressure. Lin Yuan took the purple Ganoderma lamb soup that Wen Yu handed over and drank a mouthful. He felt that after the tip of his tongue came into contact with the freshness of the lamb and the spiciness of the purple Ganoderma, his entire body became warm. After a big mouthful, a thin layer of sweat also appeared on his nose. Lin Yuan had to admit that Lu Jia's cooking was really getting better and better. Moreover, Lu Jia always liked to make medicinal cuisine during this period. Medicinal cuisine made from the collision of fresh and delicious ingredients and some spirit materials with medicinal properties really had a unique flavor. Lin Yuan looked at the time and realized that it was only a little past 6 o'clock. "Why are you up so early?" Brother Lu was always the first to wake up in Xiang Chang's manner. Brother Lu usually woke up at 7. When Brother Lu woke up and made breakfast, when you came out of her room at around 7:30 am when you took the medicinal cuisine that Lin Yuan had taken a sip of and said softly. Last night, young master said that he wanted to know about Duan He, so I asked the spirit servant who was cleaning the Hidden Moon Pavilion last night to help me look through Duan He's biography. When you had always understood her strengths and the role that she had to play in the private organization Sky City. When she had been a spirit attendant in the Radiant Moon Palace, she had always felt that she was extremely talented. Apart from her creation master aptitude, her strength was rather good among the other spirit attendants. However, after becoming Lin Yuan's personal assistant and getting to know Lu Jia, Listen, and even Chu Ci, he had become Lin Yuan's personal assistant. When you knew that she couldn't be compared to others in terms of strength and talent. Therefore, when you had now followed Mystic Moon's suggestion and started to help Lin Yuan manage his faction and organize information. They were determined to develop in the direction of internal affairs. After all, up until now, when you herself was a little disheartened. This was because he had not even condensed a single willpower rune. When Lin Yuan heard that, he knew that she must have not slept at all last night. What do you think about recruiting Duan He? When you pondered for a moment and said, Young master, I think it would be a good choice if we could recruit Duan He. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan raised his brows. After he had established his faction, Sky City, it could be said that he had not put as much effort into it as When you had always been the strictest among everyone when it came to the selection of talents. For Duan He to be able to bear the words not bad from Wen Yu's mouth, in addition to his character, his talent should also be very good. Tell me, what did you find out about Duan He last night? Wen Yu did not look at the organized information in her hands. Instead, she had long known about Duan He's information. Duan He's character is very good. When he was king class, he had the experience of serving as a spirit guard in the spirit guards. Upon hearing the word spirit guard, Lin Yuan was slightly startled. Since Lin Yuan's parents were both members of the spirit guard, he had a special feeling for the word spirit guard. In Lin Yuan's heart, everyone who protected the common people in danger was worthy of respect. They were also the most adorable people. Third update, seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. Thank you to the most adorable and great people for carrying the burden in the wind and rain. End of this chapter. Chapter 593. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and asked. Apart from the spirit guards, has Duan He joined any other factions? Upon hearing Lin Yuan's question, Wen Yu shook her head. Duan He hasn't joined any other factions, but he joined an Emperor-class expert squad. I don't know why, but he withdrew from the team. However, Duan He's strength is not bad. Duan He's contract direction with phase is water-type attack Fey affinity. According to the Hidden Moon Pavilion's records, as of 3 years ago, his main phase were the Suzerain/Myth I Six-Headed Sea Demon Snake and the Suzerain/Myth I Thunder Wave Sky Rumbling Conch. Lin Yuan frowned slightly when he heard Wen Yu talk about Duan He's Fey affinity and the name of his main Fey. When Lin Yuan had seen Duan He had been controlling a Diamond X/Fantasy V Sword Plume Sea Eagle. However, not only did the Sword Plume Sea Eagle not match Wen Yu's Fey affinity, but it was also not among Duan He's main Feys. Does Duan He have a Sword Plume Sea Eagle among his other Feys? Wen Yu shook her head. Duan He probably can't afford to raise other Feys after raising a six-headed sea demon snake. However, he contracted a source-type life form, the phaseless bird, 5 years ago. The sword plume sea eagle that young master mentioned might be an evolved source-type life form, the phaseless bird. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan knew what was going on. The source-type life form, the phaseless bird, was the same as the source seed that he had strengthened into red thorn. After the contract, it would mutate and evolve in a specific direction according to the contractor's requirements. Several source-type life forms, the phaseless bird and source seed, had also been found in the Radiance Federation, and they were not single source-type life forms. However, unlike source seeds, which were treated as trash by people, the source-type phaseless bird was considered an extremely expensive source-type life form. In terms of price, it was even comparable to a fairy source-type life form. Lin Yuan recalled the sword-plumed sea eagle's abilities and exclusive skills that he had used true data to check and could not help but sigh. Duan he had really raised the phaseless bird to such a state. This was because the sword-plumed sea eagle's pure pursuit of attack strength and attack range was simply too one-sided and extreme. However, he recalled that Duan he's main contracted fae was a six-headed sea demon snake. Lin Yuan increasingly felt that Duan he had nurtured the phaseless bird into a sword-plumed sea eagle so that it could carry bricks better. Large-range AoE skills were convenient for harvesting dimensional lifeforms in the dimensional rift and quickly accumulating resources. The more he thought about it, the more he felt he knew the truth. The sea demon snake was one of the strongest faes in the same grade as the Class 5 Creation Master, Bamboo Monarch. However, the word strongest also made the sea demon snake pay double the price. After the spirit chi professional contracted the sea demon snake, the price would be transferred to the spirit chi professional. Every time the sea demon snake grew a new head, it would require double the resources of the fae of the same grade to allow the sea demon snake to continue growing. Duan he's main fae was a myth six-headed sea demon snake. In other words, the resources that Duan he had invested in the six-headed sea demon snake could nurture six other suzerain/myth faes. Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. On the one hand, Duan he's main fae was very powerful. If Lin Yuan could take Duan he under his command, it would be the same as taking in a member. He might not be invincible in the same grade, but he would be a very powerful and capable general. On the other hand, since the suzerain/myth six-headed sea demon snake was so difficult to nurture, Duan he should be very poor. That was great. The poorer, the better. Lin Yuan was afraid that Duan he was not poor. The poorer Duan he was, the more resources he needed. Lin Yuan was also very happy. While talking to Wen Yu, Lin Yuan had already planted the cinnabar sweet osmanthus in the pit dug by the source sand. When the cinnabar sweet osmanthus was planted in the soil, the petals on the branches had already fallen to the ground. They left a ground full of fallen petals. Even the morning air was filled with the sweet fragrance of osmanthus. Wen Yu quickly took a flower broom and began to sweep the osmanthus on the ground. She said, "Young master, with this cinnabar sweet osmanthus, our return from faraway manor can also brew osmanthus honey in the future." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan revealed a bright smile. That's right. This cinnabar sweet osmanthus is about to reach platinum. I wonder if the cinnabar sweet osmanthus will be able to create a new life for itself after its core has been plucked. I wonder if it will create a new life for itself after it advances to the platinum level. When you knew that Lin Yuan wanted to nurture this cinnabar sweet osmanthus. She thought for a moment and said, "Young master, I'll go to the Leaning Moon Mountain later and bring back more vegetation spring water to carefully water the cinnabar sweet osmanthus." As soon as Wen Yu finished speaking, she saw a crystal bottle and an ordinary paper item appear in Lin Yuan's hand. Wen Yu was a creation master, so she could recognize at a glance that this paper item was an elemental source-type life form, paper elemental. When she looked at the viscous amber-like liquid in the crystal bottle in Lin Yuan's hand, Wen Yu's body could not help but tremble. The amber-like liquid in the bottle was the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar that had redeemed her with just one drop, allowing her to firm her path and obtain a new life. Wen Yu's heart trembled fiercely when she saw Lin Yuan's hand handing over the items. That paper elemental source-type item was fine, but this bottle of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar had at least 200 drops. A drop of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar was already priceless. This small bottle was something that pinnacle factions could not obtain even if they went to the Leaning Moon Mountain and begged the Moon Empress for a year. When you didn't take it, Lin Yuan said, "Let's go. The elemental source-type item, paper element, is more suitable for you. Also, this bottle of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar can completely wash away the impurities on your body. After the impurities are washed away, you can contract the paper elemental source-type item. After that, I'll have a good night's sleep. I'll have enough energy to stay up all night." Wen Yu looked at Lin Yuan with an inexplicable emotion in her eyes. After taking a deep breath and taking the things in Lin Yuan's hand, Wen Yu spoke generously. Many thanks, young master. The sun had already risen. As usual, Wen Yu summoned the source-type Earth Surge Golden Lotus and accompanied it to bask in the sun. Lin Yuan also went straight to the kitchen and checked the soup that Lu Jia had made for him. Lu Jia usually used a pot of soup in the kitchen when he cooked. Every time he used up some of the soup, Lu Jia would add some new soup. The soup that Lin Yuan had cooked in this pot for the whole night was the soup that Lu Jia had made for him last night with some specific ingredients. This pot of soup was also a small cheat that Lin Yuan had made for himself since he had not cooked for a long time and was somewhat rusty in cooking. Wen Yu tightly held the crystal bottle and the paper elemental source-type item in her hand. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. First update, seeking monthly votes, recommendation votes. Come on, Motherland. Immortal heroic soul. End of this chapter. Chapter 594. This gust of wind blew down quite a few osmanthus flowers. One of the osmanthus flowers happened to fall into Wen Yu's hair. Wen Yu removed the cinnabar sweet osmanthus flower from her head. She suddenly discovered that this small osmanthus flower actually had quite a few faint lines on it. Even though the flower had already fallen from the tree, every pattern on the flower was engraved with the growth of the tree. Looking at the flowers and the paper elemental source-type item in her hand, Wen Yu had a dream. He recited softly. I hope that I can turn into a piece of white paper and engrave all the marks about you and Sky City. Wen Yu's words were very light, but the wind was very strong. Perhaps only the cinnabar sweet osmanthus, who was against the wind, could hear these words. If I were a piece of paper, the front of the paper would be a declaration, and the back would be a secret. Wen Yu's voice was a lot louder, but before she could finish her sentence, Wen Yu entered a state of epiphany, and a transparent paper-like willpower rune appeared in her mind. The spiritual energy around Wen Yu was swirling and dancing rapidly. Xian Yu reached out her chopsticks to pick up the dish on the plate. After carefully tasting it, she felt that the dish was extremely ordinary. However, his knife skills were very solid. It was just that each of these simple dishes had the taste of old soup. The taste of the soup could be said to be the finishing touch of the dish. It sublimated the taste of every dish. If it had been a year ago, someone would have come to Empty Clear Moon to pay a New Year's visit and cook a home-cooked meal for the Moon Empress. Xian Yu wouldn't believe it even if she was beaten to death. The Moon Empress might not be a picky eater, but she was abnormally picky when it came to food. Ordinary dishes and cooking methods simply couldn't enter the Moon Empress' mouth. But now, when the Moon Empress was eating her home-cooked dishes, the smile on her face never disappeared. Even Song Yu's usual cold expression softened as she drank the soup Chu Ci served her. With such a comparison, Xian Yu's original intention of accepting him as her disciple became even stronger. Suddenly, Xian Yu thought of a young girl that she had taught before. After the meal, the Moon Empress said to Lin Yuan, Little Yuan, head to the outer realm on the 7th of the mystic moon. The spatial passageway will be ready before the 15th. There was still a long time before you went to the Divine Wood Federation of the Aon continent, so I didn't tell you. Now, I'm going to tell you very seriously that any continent in the outer realm is a completely different world from the Radiance continent. When you get there, you have to know how to be cold. Upon hearing the Moon Empress' words, Lin Yuan nodded seriously. Teacher, don't worry. Back when he was in the Abyss Dimensional Rift, he had yet to understand the dangers of the outer realm. In the upgraded Water World Dimensional Rift, Lin Yuan had a deep understanding of what kind of attitude he should take to face the outer realm's factions. When the Moon Empress saw that Lin Yuan had listened to her, she continued speaking. Do you want me to help you solve some of your other troubles? While speaking, the Moon Empress' eyes surged with faint killing intent and coldness. When Lin Yuan heard the Moon Empress' words, he knew that she was referring to the Jing family. This was because he currently did not have any other troubles. His master, the Moon Empress, had already asked him once. It was obvious that the Jing family was about to make a move. Lin Yuan shook his head and smiled. Teacher, if I can't hold on, I'll look for you. The Moon Empress reached out and gently rubbed the hair on top of Lin Yuan's head. She gently placed the flowing cloud beeswax wrapped extreme token on Lin Yuan's neck. I've already filled the extreme token with the moonlight domain. If there's any danger, just activate it. Don't hesitate. Lin Yuan looked down at the extreme token hanging on his neck. He faintly felt that the current extreme token was a little different from before. However, Lin Yuan could not pinpoint exactly what was different. Unlike the joyous and harmonious atmosphere in the Radiant Moon Palace, the atmosphere in the Indigo Azure City's Jing family's third lineage was abnormally tense. Jing Jianglu and Jing Wenba stood at the side and looked at the cold-eyed youth sitting on the main seat. Even though the fire in the mansion was burning brightly, Jing Jianglu and Jing Wenba still felt a chill from the bottom of their hearts. The iron wall chamber of commerce's Bai Qinghu knelt on the ground with his head lowered, afraid of offending the noble sitting on the main seat. Bai Qinghu did not know how long he had been kneeling. While kneeling, Bai Qinghu did not dare to circulate his spiritual power, causing his king-class expert's legs to be numb from kneeling for a long time. Humph. A cold snort came from the nose of the young man on the main seat, causing Bai Qinghu, who was kneeling on the ground, to stiffen. The fear in his eyes became even more intense. The main reason Bai Qinghu came to the royal capital this time was that he didn't know why the third lineage of the Jing family, which had been supporting the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce behind him and the others during this period, suddenly ignored him. After arriving, Bai Qinghu didn't expect to see the core members of the main family behind the three lineages of the Jing family. The second young master of the Jing family. If it were during normal times, Bai Qinghu would probably jump up in joy in his sleep if he could see someone like the second young master. But now that Bai Qinghu knew about the trouble caused indirectly by the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce, he wished he could crawl into a crack in the ground. She avoided the sinister gazes of Jing Jianglu and his son. But compared to Jing Jianglu and his father's sinister gaze, the second young master who didn't even look at him made Bai Qinghu even more fearful. Jing Jianglu looked at Jing Kaiyuan and said carefully, "Second young master, what do you think we should do?" When Jing Kaiyuan heard Jing Jiangliu's words, he slammed the table in front of him fiercely. He was so frightened that little Martin, who was in his arms, quickly burrowed into the loose sleeve of Jing Kaiyuan's creation master robe. "What should we do? It doesn't matter if your Jing family's third lineage's Jiao Hansong is dead. But this young master's protector perished because of your Jing family's third lineage's deaf and mute intelligence. Your Jing family's third lineage still wants to ask me what to do." At this time, Jing Kaiyuan's tone was like that of a superior existence, bossing and reprimanding his subordinates. From his words, he didn't treat the Jing family's third lineage, which was attached to the main family, as his own people. Zheng Wenba was already so frightened that he didn't dare to speak and shrunk behind Jing Jianglu. Jing Jiangliu's expression was ugly to the extreme. However, underneath that ugly expression, there was more fear. Jing Jianglu spoke as though he had accepted his fate. "Second young master, I have already started to develop the resources in the coastal sea outside the Indigo Azure. By then, my third lineage will only take 20% of the business, and the remaining 80% will be second young masters." Zheng Kaiyuan's sharp eyes shot straight at Jing Jianglu. A small coastal sea controlled by a small character like the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. Your third lineage has been planning for so long, but an unforeseen event actually occurred. It seems like your third lineage is hiding a lot of things from me. Jing Jiangliu's body tensed up. How would our third lineage dare to hide anything from second young master? In the future, our third lineage will be under second young master's command. Second update, requesting for monthly votes and recommendation votes. There will be a third update later. End of this chapter. Chapter 595. Jing Jianglu thought to himself. Only he and Jiao Hansong knew that the sea burial lotus flower was in the coastal sea controlled by the listening heron chamber of commerce. Everyone else had been dealt with by Jiao Hansong, and even Jing Wenba wasn't aware of it. Since Jiao Hansong was dead, Jing Jianglu was the only person who knew about it. Now that the sea burial lotus flower was gone, Jing Jianglu knew that he had to swallow all his grievances as the only person who knew about it. Otherwise, if the second young master knew about the sea burial lotus flower's secret, he wouldn't let the 3 lineages off. The strongest member of the Jing family's 3 lineages was Jiao Hansong. With Jiao Hansong's death, out of the 4 branches of the Jing family that were originally neck and neck, the 3rd branch had become the weakest. Jing Jianglu had to find a reliable backer for the 3 lineages. Even if this backer was greedier than a ferocious tiger. Zheng Kaiyuan glanced at Jing Jianglu. Since the 3 lineages intend to rely on me, they just have to develop the resources in the coastal sea. Don't bother about anything else. As for the profits, I want 90%. When Jing Jianglu heard this, he gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. Zheng Kaiyuan's cold face revealed a smile with killing intent as he looked sideways at Jing Jianglu and asked calmly. Why? Does third uncle think that Kaiyuan's opinion isn't good? Jing Jiangliu's tightly clenched teeth trembled for a moment, so much so that his teeth tasted like blood. Jing Jianglu pulled Jing Wenba, who was behind him, to kneel on the ground and speak loudly. Second young master's opinion is naturally the best. Jing Jianglu, who was kneeling on the ground, had a faint guess in his heart. A few days ago, the cold moon had hung high in the sky, and the dense moonlight had shone on the coastal region outside Indigo Azure City. That location was exactly the same as the location where he had sent Jiao Hansong to intercept the youth. However, this guess was too terrifying, and Jing Jianglu didn't dare to think too deeply about it. During this half a month, the Jing family hadn't suffered any calamity. Jing Jianglu felt that he was thinking too much. If the Jing family really touched that existence in the sky, even the Miao family behind the Jing family's second young master would be in trouble. He had burned the Miao family, a top force that could look down on the world, into a pile of withered grass at the end of autumn. When Jing Kaiyuan heard Jing Jiangliu's reply, he looked at Jing Jianglu with disdain and ignored him. He turned to look at Bai Qinghu, who was kneeling there as much as possible to reduce his presence. The source is the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. The Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce actually has such a huge background. As he spoke, Jing Kaiyuan's eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness. Although Jing Kaiyuan was arrogant, he was not stupid. Zheng Kaiyuan had even personally looked for the Indigo Azure Guard's captain to understand the situation. In the end, the leader of the Indigo Azure Guard, Jing Jianglu, personally went to inquire a few times and only left behind the 4-word Sky City. Zheng Kaiyuan had no idea how powerful Sky City was. Zheng Kaiyuan did not dare to underestimate Yi Shiwen's ability to kill 2 emperor-level combatants in a single conflict. Bai Qinghu never thought that the second young master of the Jing family would actually condescend to speak to him. However, rather than saying that the second young master was talking to him, it was more like he was talking to himself. Bai Qinghu, who thought that he had a good understanding of the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, did not dare to interrupt at all. Just as Bai Qinghu was at a loss, he did not expect to be called out by Zheng Kaiyuan. Third uncle said that you're called Bai Qinghu? That's quite an imposing name. Since you're looking for third uncle to pull resources, I don't care if third uncle gives you resources or not. I can help you. Are you interested? Bai Qinghu, whose legs were numb from kneeling, thought that he was doomed. He didn't expect that a surprise would fall on his head. Bai Qinghu's eyes lit up as he hurriedly replied, I'm willing, my lord. I'm willing, my lord. If my lord is willing to help the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce, I'll do anything. Zheng Kaiyuan tapped his fingers on the armrest of the main seat and said softly, now that the dimensional rift is active, any ferocious beast has to retract its claws. Now that the dimensional rift is active, all ferocious beasts will have to retract their claws. Otherwise, they won't have a good ending. However, the Jing family can't do nothing. Bai Qinghu, if you want luxury resources, I'll give you luxury resources. You just have to use your means to force the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce to lose everything. Bai Qinghu was stunned by this surprise and thanked Jing Kaiyuan happily. Jing Jianglu looked at Bai Qinghu with a rather complicated gaze. Bai Qinghu, who used to be like a pug in front of him, was different from the past after he had a relationship with the second young master and could sit face to face with him. But at the same time, Jing Jiangliu's originally worried heart calmed down a lot. Although this matter was caused by the Jing family's third lineage, it could be said that it had withdrawn from the vortex after giving up 90% of the shallow nearshore sea resources. Jing Kaiyuan just had to develop the shallow nearshore sea resources and earn as much as possible. All the trouble was taken over by the second young master. Listening to the second young master's words, he was ready to fight to the end with the faction behind the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. After spending the new year in the Radiant Moon Palace, they did not return to the mansion until noon on the first day of the new year. After returning to the mansion, they had a reunion dinner and were going out to stroll around the New Year's fair in the afternoon. He did not expect it to snow for the first time after the new year. It was snowing heavily, like goose feathers, turning the entire capital white. The verdant plants in the return from faraway mansion, including the red cinnabar sweet osmanthus in front of the mansion, were also covered with a thick layer of snow. When everyone saw that the snow was getting heavier, they dispelled the idea of strolling around the New Year's fair together. Instead, they made all kinds of exquisite pastries with Lu Jie. Upon seeing the goose feather-like snow falling from the sky, Lin Yuan felt that this snow was a good omen. Cold snow contains good intentions, and warm spring brings happiness and happiness. Auspicious snow indicates a fruitful year. May everything go well in the new year. Chu Xi had always been a quiet person, but she could not sit still at this moment. She kept thinking about going to the All-Star game tomorrow. Lin Yuan felt that she was more lively than genius and chimey combined. He watched as Chu Xi wandered around him, drawing circles around him. He knew that Chu Xi must have something to say to him. He reached out and patted the empty spot on the sofa. Stop spinning. I'm getting confused. What can't you say to me directly? Upon hearing that, Chu Xi sat down beside Lin Yuan and said with a chuckle, "That's right. Brother, there might be a challenge at the All-Star game tomorrow. I have a feeling that I will be chosen. That's why I want to let the Vidra butterfly become a fantasy breed today." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan stretched out his hand and lovingly pinched Chu Xi's nose. When did you become so superstitious? You still believe in your sixth sense? I still feel that I will be chosen. Third more. Seeking monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 597. After saying that, Lin Yuan hung up the phone. Lin Yuan had told Duanhe his idea of roping in Duanhe now. It was because he wanted to use a psychological game, the Thousand Layers game. He would first let Duanhe be mentally prepared and weigh the pros and cons. If Duanhe had no intention of joining Sky City, then no matter what he did, his goal of roping in Duanhe would not succeed. On the contrary, if Duanhe had the intention of joining Sky City, in this way, he would be able to increase his bargaining chips layer by layer in order to achieve Duanhe's psychological expectations. He would let Duanhe join his faction, Sky City. This was the essence of the Thousand Layers game. Lin Yuan got up from the water rhinoceros leather sofa and logged into Star Web. He arrived at the purchase with no loss store and waited for Duanhe's arrival. At that moment, Lin Yuan, who was waiting for Duanhe's arrival, frowned and pondered what kind of chips he could add to the matter of roping in Duanhe. Not long after Lin Yuan sat down in his Star Web store, Duanhe's figure walked into the door. Upon seeing Duanhe, the corners of Lin Yuan's mouth curled into a smile. Since Duanhe was here, it meant that his Thousand Layers game was already half successful. At least, Duanhe still decided to come after knowing his purpose, which meant that Duanhe already had intentions in his heart. Even if Duan He refused in his heart, he did not refuse to the end. There was still room for negotiation. Duan He looked at Lin Yuan and found that Lin Yuan looked the same as when he had seen him on the deserted island outside Indigo Azure City. He still wore the strange mask with the majestic Sky City pattern on his face. There were only Lin Yuan and Duan He in the store, so Duan He walked up to Lin Yuan and said, "My lord, my nephew said that he was in seclusion." "Sir, what my nephew said was nonsense. I don't know how this child managed to eavesdrop on our conversation," said Wang Yao. Lin Yuan shook his head and said generously, "I don't care about this kind of thing. I don't care about this kind of thing. No one will believe me even if I tell them. Here are 10 wind-type heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls with 98% purity. The price is according to our agreement. 2 source-type items for 1. Duan He felt a little pained, but he was very agile. He quickly took out 20 source-type items and was ready to trade with Lin Yuan. Among these 20 source-type items, 3 had just been taken out by Duan He from the Class 3 Water World Dimensional Rift. Even though Duan He felt very pained. However, it had to be said that Lin Yuan's transaction price was already considered cheap as compared to buying from other Pinnacle Class for Creation Masters. At the very least, he wouldn't have to help Pinnacle Class for Creation Masters search for spiritual ingredients that were extremely difficult to gather and waste so much time and effort. He looked at the 20 source-type items that Duan He handed over. Lin Yuan did not take it immediately. Instead, he spoke seriously. "Senior Duan He, if you're willing to join Sky City, you won't have to pay any price for these 10 wind attribute heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls." When Duan He had heard Lin Yuan's recruitment, he had subconsciously rejected it and felt slightly stirred. Duan He knew that Lin Yuan was the Moon Empress disciple. Joining Lin Yuan's faction would undoubtedly shorten the distance between him and the Moon Empress. However, joining a faction would not only bring benefits, but also responsibilities. He would also have many companions whom he could entrust his life to. What Duan He hated the most was the feeling of his companion dying in front of him. Otherwise, Duan He wouldn't have left the spirit guards so resolutely after one mission. He chose to become a freelance spirit chi professional. Therefore, Duan He had already made up his mind to continue the transaction. When Lin Yuan saw that Duan He didn't take back his hand, he knew that his first layer of pie had not worked. Therefore, Lin Yuan threw out his second layer of pie. "Senior Duan He, if you join Sky City, as long as you comprehend a willpower rune, Sky City will provide the most suitable bronze phase for you according to the willpower rune you have comprehended." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Duan He shook his head again. He had indeed just comprehended a willpower rune. However, to Duan He, a suitable bronze fey could be found as long as he spent some money and time. At the level of an Emperor-class expert, the real difficulty was no longer thinking about how to find a suitable bronze fey. Instead, it was how to nurture a high-quality bronze fey into a myth breed. After all, Duan He only needed to trouble an advanced class for Creation Master to order a high-quality bronze fey that was suitable for his willpower rune. Seeing that Duan He still wanted to refuse, Lin Yuan waved his hand and summoned the 2 pots of bronze/legend golden peonies that he had just entered into the star web. The moment Lin Yuan summoned the 2 luxurious and gorgeous golden peonies, Duan He's eyes immediately widened. Duan He thought that the high-quality bronze fey that Lin Yuan mentioned would at most be at bronze/epic. He didn't expect that Lin Yuan was actually talking about a bronze/legend fey. Duan He could find a suitable bronze/epic fey, but he couldn't find a suitable bronze/legend fey no matter what. When a pinnacle class for Creation Master nurtured a fey, there was a very small probability that they could nurture a bronze/legend fey. To a certain extent, nurturing a bronze/legend fey was already within the scope of a Class 5 Creation Master. Duan He asked himself. The 3 Class 5 Creation Masters were the Moon Empress, the Bamboo Monarch, and the Chef Supreme. No matter which one of them it was, he didn't have the qualifications to visit them. Moreover, he couldn't get any of them to help him tailor-make a fey that was suitable for a willpower rune. Upon seeing Lin Yuan offer practical benefits, Duan He's throat moved. Duan He couldn't refuse no matter what. When Lin Yuan saw Duan He's current state, he knew that the second layer of pie he had thrown out had already reached Duan He's psychological expectations. However, it wasn't enough for Duan He to immediately make the decision to join Sky City. It was very normal for any faction to spend a lot of resources to recruit experts. Even those rising factions that didn't have a rich foundation would promise plenty of benefits to the king-class experts when recruiting them. Only then would the king-class experts be willing to serve the faction. Moreover, Lin Yuan was currently recruiting an emperor-class expert with a rather outstanding main fei. Therefore, Lin Yuan was willing to pour in resources for Duan He. If Duan He could join a faction, the more resources Lin Yuan poured in for Duan He, the stronger Duan He would become. It was a win-win situation for both Duan He and Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and didn't talk nonsense with Duan He. He immediately threw out his third layer of pie. Second update, asking for monthly and recommended votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 598. I heard that Senior Duan He has been running around collecting spiritual ingredients because you have a sea demon snake among your contracted fays. I wonder if Senior's sea demon snake is still a suzerain/myth I six-headed sea demon snake. If it is, I'm sure that even if Senior works hard every day to collect resources, it will only be enough to deal with the six-headed sea demon snake's consumption. Senior, you might be able to advance the six-headed sea monster snake to Myth 2, but once the six-headed sea monster snake reaches Myth 2, it will grow a new head and become a seven-headed sea monster snake. A seven-headed sea demon snake needs a large amount of law power to evolve from Myth 2 to Myth 3. Where is Senior Duan He going to find the law power to evolve 7 suzerain/Myth 2 phase to Myth 3? Duan He was not surprised that Lin Yuan knew his information very well. Lin Yuan was the Moon Empress disciple. As long as he wanted to know, the entire Radiant sect had no secrets to him. It was rumored that the Radiant Moon Palace's hidden moon pavilion had more secrets than the Spirit Guard Sihan Library. So far, Duan He's biggest headache was nurturing the sea demon snake. The sea demon snake had already reached the pinnacle of suzerain/myth I, and Duan He had put in countless years of hard work. Duan He had not been idle at home for a single year. He had been so busy every day. At that moment, Duan He heard Lin Yuan continue to speak. Senior, if you can get a law crystal after joining Sky City, you can give it to me. I can provide you with the pure law power in the law crystal. Lin Yuan immediately threw out his third layer of pie. This was the last layer of pie that he had prepared for Lin Yuan. If Duan He still did not agree after this layer of pie was thrown out, Lin Yuan would really have no other choice. Of course, if Duan He agreed, it would be great news for Lin Yuan. On one hand, Sky City would gain a capable general and increase its high-end combat power. On the other hand, Duan He would find the law crystal and give it to Lin Yuan to obtain the pure law power. He was also working for the sacred sword-wielding queen, the sacred source life form that he had formed a contract with. Duan He was stunned when he heard Lin Yuan's words. After a while, he murmured in disbelief. Is what Sir said true? Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at Duan He and nodded solemnly. Of course I can't lie. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's answer, Duan He immediately withdrew the 20 source-type items in his hand. He called Lin Yuan young master in a very straightforward manner. Young master, may I know what kind of oath I need to make with a willpower rune to join Sky City? Duan He was overjoyed. Bronze/Legend phase weren't just within the scope of Class 5 Creation Masters, even Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters could do it. In that case, only Class 5 Creation Masters could purify the power of law from the law crystal. The 3 Class 5 Creation Masters, be it the Moon Empress, the Bamboo Monarch, or the Chef Supreme, were all extremely powerful. The purified rule force was all consumed internally, and not a trace of it would flow to the outside. This was also one of the reasons why every Class 5 creation master had such great authority and was revered by the world. Even if Emperor-class experts who were stronger than him joined a top faction, they wouldn't be able to obtain something like pure rule force. They could only comprehend the law at a deeper level by themselves when their contracted suzerain phase reached suzerain/myth 2. Or they could find a law crystal of the same attribute as their contracted phase to absorb. Of course, letting a Fae absorb the energy in such a law crystal of the same attribute would never be comparable to pure rule force. Lin Yuan was offering such benefits as long as Duan He wanted to go further on the path of a combat class spirit chi professional. Duan He simply couldn't open his mouth to refuse Lin Yuan's offer. Upon hearing Duan He's straightforward agreement, Lin Yuan said, "Senior, you just need to swear with a law rune become my and Sky City's guardian. Senior, you just need to swear an oath with a law rune and become my and Sky Castle's guardian." If Lin Yuan insisted on making him a servant, Duan He wouldn't agree even if he coveted Lin Yuan's offer. If Lin Yuan insisted on making him a servant, Duan He wouldn't agree even if he coveted the pie that Lin Yuan was offering. If Lin Yuan insisted on making him a servant, Duan He wouldn't agree even if he coveted Lin Yuan's offer. This might not work for all king-class experts. However, it was an ironclad rule for Duan He. It was this ironclad rule that allowed Duan He to always weigh and choose when faced with temptations. Duan He pondered for 3 minutes before looking straight at Lin Yuan and asking, "I know what to do as your guardian. I know how to be your protector, but what about being the protector of a faction?" In Duan He's eyes, Lin Yuan was the leader of Sky City's faction. As Duan He's guardian, he had to listen to Lin Yuan's orders. Thus, in Duan He's opinion, becoming Lin Yuan's guardian was equivalent to becoming Sky City's guardian. Upon hearing Duan He's words, Lin Yuan replied bluntly, "As Sky City's guardian, you have to protect every blade of grass, every tree, and everything in Sky City, even if you die. And I can make you stronger." When Lin Yuan said this, his expression was very serious. He was not as approachable as usual. Instead, he had a superior aggressiveness. Lin Yuan had thrown out so many good things to get Duan He to join Sky City, not to raise a boss. Therefore, he had to say the ugly words first. At the same time, as Lin Yuan had grown over the past 6 months, he had a clearer understanding of this world and his own abilities. If Duan He could find enough law crystals, not to mention Lin Yuan's creation master abilities, just the sacred source life form, the sacred sword embracing queen, would be able to form a contract with him. It was enough to raise Duan He's suzerain/myth I 6-headed sea demon snake. If Duan He had the confidence to let the sea demon snake survive the creation tribulation, the sacred sword embracing queen could even let the 6-headed sea demon snake ascend to the creation breed, the 9-headed sea god snake. Apart from his identity as the Moon Empress disciple, Lin Yuan still had the confidence to say such words to Duan He. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Duan He felt relieved. Since he had joined a faction, in Duan He's opinion, protecting every blade of grass and tree of this faction was what a faction member should do. Duan He bent down and bowed to Lin Yuan. "Young master, I can't swear with the law rune on Star Web, but I've decided to join Sky City and become young master's guardian." 3rd. End of this chapter. Chapter 599. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan's face revealed a sunny smile. Lin Yuan's instantaneous change made Duan He feel that although he could not see the face behind the mask, he was like a sunny youth. At that moment, Duan He heard Lin Yuan suddenly say, "I just said to protect everything in the faction and protect everything in Sky City. You're not the only one who needs to do it. I'm the same." While speaking, Lin Yuan thought of Lu Jia and Zhou Luo, who had stepped forward bravely in the evolving water world dimensional rift. Lin Yuan smiled and said softly, "I will also do my best to protect everyone in Sky City. I will also do my best to protect everyone in Sky City." Lin Yuan's voice was very soft. However, in Duan He's ears, he could very well feel Lin Yuan's faith and the weight contained in these words. Although Duan he still did not understand Sky City's faction. Based on the words of Lin Yuan, who was at the helm of the faction, Duan he knew that Sky City would at least be a faction with a human touch tomorrow. Lin Yuan did not expect himself to have such a feeling. Even if it was the establishment of a faction, as the helm, he indeed had to bear more than others. Lin Yuan stood up and said to Duan he, "Senior Duan he, if you have time, come directly to the royal capital." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Duan he stretched out his hand and awkwardly touched the stubble on his chin. "Young master, I want to take advantage of the active period of the dimensional rift to get more resources. My six-headed sea demon snake and thunder wave sky rumbling snail still need half of the spiritual ingredients to promote to myth 2. Lin Yuan brushed his hand over the huge flower of the legend gold petal peony and said with a smile, "Since you've joined Sky City, apart from the law crystals, Sky City will be responsible for the materials needed for the phase evolution." The allegiance of an Emperor-class expert was not as easy to obtain as that of a King-class expert. As long as an Emperor-class expert joined any faction, even the top factions would treat them as distinguished guests. The faction itself would be responsible for the Emperor-class expert's daily expenses. Naturally, Lin Yuan would not be stingy. Regardless of whether it was the Jing family or the extraterritorial Divine Wood Federation's development, it was already time. With one more Emperor-class expert presiding over the royal capital, Lin Yuan would also have more bargaining chips to do things, and he would be more confident. Duan he blinked. He originally thought that his benefits were the few points that Lin Yuan had just given him. In fact, Duan he was already extremely satisfied with the pure power of the rules of order. I didn't expect Lin Yuan to be willing to bear the expenses for my phase evolution. It wasn't as if no veteran and top forces had approached him before. However, none of the veteran factions or top factions had the confidence to provide for the expenses of their phase evolution. Duan he also understood that the resources needed to support him were equivalent to supporting several Emperor-level experts at the same time. For any force, it wasn't worth it to raise themselves. Happiness came too suddenly. Thinking that he would no longer have to run around in the wind and rain, Duan he felt unprecedentedly relaxed. However, at the same time, Duan he remembered at the source-type life-form phaseless bird that he had cultivated into a sword-plumed sea hawk in order to carry bricks seemed to be useless in the future. Duan he felt that it was quite good. It seemed that in the future, the sword-plumed sea eagles should be trained from group attack to group control. Lin Yuan did not feel too much pressure about raising Duan he, who was a huge resource eater, in the future. Compared to Duan he's strength among same-grade experts, the resources that the sea demon snake needed to consume were not so important. In any case, the Spirit Lock spatial zone was constantly producing more and more heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. It just so happened that he could carry out positive consumption and use resources to enhance the strength of Sky City's top combat power. After finalizing the deal with Duan he, Lin Yuan logged off Star Web. Duan he immediately rushed to the royal capital from Indigo Azure City. With the Diamond X/Fantasy V Sword Plume Seahawk speed, it would only take Duan he slightly more than a day to reach the royal capital from Indigo Azure City. It just so happened that on the third day of the Lunar New Year, Duan he would be able to arrive and sign a contract with Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan came out of the room, the banquet was already on the table. In addition to all kinds of dishes, there was also a square jade plate with a diameter of about 1 meter in the middle of the table. There were all kinds of pastries on the plate. Only a small portion of the pastries were very dexterously made, and the various small fays were vivid and lifelike. Obviously, these lifelike ones were made by Lu Jia, and the rest of the crooked ones were made by others. After being steamed, these crooked pastries were almost indistinguishable. Chu Ci, the mother of Bloodbath, and Endless Summer were trying their best to identify which pastries they had made. However, they could not distinguish it no matter how hard they tried. When Lin Yuan saw Wen Yu, he found that her spirit, energy, and spirit had undergone an earth-shattering change. She must have finished consuming the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar and washed away the impurities in her body. After a while, Listen and Zhou Luo also returned from outside and sat at the dining table. It could be said that now was the time when the return from faraway mansion had the most people. Every character on the feature wall was present. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and took out the large bottle of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar that he had left in the phase storage box before the meal. Then, he took 6 empty bowls and filled each bowl with honey syrup. He placed them in front of the mother of bloodbath, Endless Summer, Lu Jia, Listen, Zhou Luo, and Hu Quan. Chu Ci, Wen Yu, and Lin Yuan had already consumed the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar and washed away the impurities in their bodies. Even if Lin Yuan had a lot of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar, he could not bear to drink such precious things casually. Money is money, but good steel must be used on the blade's edge. When Chu Ci saw the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar that Lin Yuan had poured out, she immediately recalled what had happened after she had consumed the nectar. Just as he was about to say something, he saw that Hu Quan, who had been working on his craft, and Zhou Luo, who had just returned from outside, had already finished a bowl of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar. After drinking the bowl of honey brew, Zhou Luo and Hu Quan couldn't help but extend their thumbs at Lin Yuan and sigh. This honey is so delicious. Where did you buy it? Wen Yu's eyelids twitched as she looked at Hu Quan and Zhou Luo, who were giving them thumbs up. For something like the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar, no matter how much money you spent, you wouldn't even be qualified to see it. He was actually asked where he bought it. If the Leaning Moon Mountain was willing to sell this item, then the peak powers would probably start fighting over the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar. Lin Yuan blinked. He didn't expect that they would finish the bowl of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar while he was twisting the jar. Lin Yuan hurriedly replied. Uncle Hu, Brother Zhou, you two go to the bathroom in your room. First update, asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 600. Before Lin Yuan could finish speaking, Zhou Luo and Hu Quan had already run to their rooms. Lu Jia looked at the bowl full of amber-colored liquid, and he recognized what was inside the bowl. When the insect queen was in danger, the bamboo monarch had given him a drop of silver auspicious gold luster cassia nectar. Although this drop of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar couldn't heal the insect queen's damaged foundation, it was enough to help the insect queen stall for a year. Otherwise, the insect queen would have died before Lu Jia could meet Lin Yuan. If that were the case, there wouldn't be a new student like Lu Jia. To the mother of bloodbath and endless summer, who were already myth-breed phase, the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar was even more beneficial. The secret of the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar cleansing the body's impurities was mainly to upgrade the genetic model, allowing the genetic model to reach the most perfect state. As compared to humans, phase genes were much more complicated. The mother of bloodbath, endless summer, and Lu Jia returned to their rooms after drinking the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar. Lin Yuan felt a little awkward. If he had known earlier, he would have taken out the silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar after the meal. Only he, Chu Ci, and Wen Yu were left sitting at the table during the reunion dinner. After eating, Lin Yuan took out the 2 pots of golden petal peonies and placed them beside the water rhinoceros leather sofa. Hu Quan had already made them but had not used them. The glow-winged butterflies resting in the spirit-containing hibiscus on the red sandalwood longevity fish tank all flew up after sensing the aura of the peony. It danced around the bronze/legend golden petals peony. The glow-winged butterfly was usually very lazy at night. If it could not fly, it would absolutely not fly. Now with these 2 pots of golden peonies, the glow-winged butterfly became as lively at night as it was during the day. He knew that these glow-winged butterflies were also craving the golden peony's pollen. The 2 bronze/legend golden petaled peonies had a lot of pollen, and even though the Vajra butterfly had become a fantasy breed, it would not be able to consume all of it. Lin Yuan did not continue to stop these glow-winged butterflies from picking the golden peony's pollen. The more Lin Yuan looked at these fluttering glow-winged butterflies, the the more he felt that there was something wrong with one of them. When this glow-winged butterfly fluttered, the other glow-winged butterflies instinctively avoided it by half a meter. Just as Lin Yuan was about to use true data to check this glow-winged butterfly's attributes, Chu Xi said, "Lin Yuan, I'm done eating. I'll wait for you in the training room." As soon as Lin Yuan heard that, he no longer cared about this rather unusual glow-winged butterfly. Instead, he said directly, "Let's go together after I'm done eating. Before I go, I'll collect the metal and wood dual attribute pollen that the Vidra butterfly needs to advance into a fantasy breed." After saying that, Lin Yuan took out a wooden box and gently patted each of the blooming peonies. He collected the pollen from each peony into a box. The golden pollen was full of vitality and covered the bottom of the box. He took the box and pulled Chu Xi toward the training room. So far, Chu Xi's phase could be said to have been created by Lin Yuan. Therefore, he was looking forward to the exclusive skill that would appear after the Vidra butterfly became a fantasy breed. As for the burning sunflower, Lin Yuan didn't have any expectations. This was because the burning sunflower was a fairy source-type life form, and its abilities were enough to construct Chu Xi's combat system. In Lin Yuan's opinion, what kind of exclusive skills and characteristics would appear would just be icing on the cake. In the training room, Lin Yuan summoned the Bronze/Legend Vidra butterfly. The Bronze/Legend Vidra butterfly had stayed with Lin Yuan for a long time. As soon as it saw Chu Xi, it immediately flew to her side. It flew back and forth intimately around Chu Xi. Sometimes, it would stop between Chu Xi's fingers, and sometimes, it would stop at the tip of her nose, making her giggle. Lin Yuan had also contracted a butterfly species life form, and it was qualified to compete for the top 10 most beautiful phase, the blue flash purple butterfly. However, the blue flash purple butterfly was usually very cold. Although Lin Yuan could feel the deep fetters the blue flash purple butterfly had on him, it usually did not interact with him. In Lin Yuan's opinion, the only thing in the world that could make the blue flash purple butterfly enthusiastic was probably the jasmine lily. It had been half a year since the blue flash purple butterfly hatched from its cocoon, and Lin Yuan had single-handedly raised it. However, he had no clue about the blue flash purple butterfly's willpower rune that was suitable for all his phase. He recalled that Chu Xi had looked at the Vidra butterfly and comprehended a willpower rune suitable for the Vidra butterfly. He planned to stare at the blue flash purple butterfly whenever he had the time and see if he could comprehend a willpower rune that was suitable for the blue flash purple butterfly. After playing with the Vidra butterfly for a while, Chu Xi summoned the willpower rune she had comprehended from the Vidra butterfly. This was not the first time Lin Yuan had seen this willpower rune. This willpower rune gave off an abnormally heavy feeling, as if it was a sturdy shield. However, behind this heavy feeling, there seemed to be an indomitable aura hidden. Lin Yuan faintly felt that this willpower rune exuded a faintly discernible sense of recklessness. Lin Yuan placed the wooden box of dual attribute pollen on the table in the training room and said to Chu Xi, "Don't worry." He said to Chu Xi, "Let the Vidra butterfly suck the dual attribute pollen in the wooden box until you feel that the Vidra butterfly can't suck anymore. Use your willpower rune to combine with the Vidra butterfly and let it evolve into a fantasy breed." This was not the first time Chu Xi had a fantasy breed fae, but compared to the previous time, she was even more nervous this time. After embarking on the path of a spirit chi professional, Chu Xi, who was usually obsessed with combat training, understood the importance of exclusive skills and ability combinations better than her peers. Although Chu Xi was nervous, she did not panic at all when commanding the Vidra butterfly. When the Vidra butterfly absorbed a small portion of the pollen in the wooden box, its abdomen had already swelled up. A layer of golden halo kept spreading from its abdomen, dyeing the Vidra butterfly's body, which was originally cyan steel, with a faint layer of gold. Chu Xi sensed the Vidra butterfly's state. The moment the Vidra butterfly's body was completely dyed with gold, she controlled the willpower rune to meet the Vidra butterfly. The Vidra butterfly combined with this heavy willpower rune that hid an indomitable aura. In an instant, a layer of dense metallic halo lit up. Immediately after, Lin Yuan saw this dense metallic halo constantly shrink. Suddenly, a layer of green, watery luster lit up in the center of the metallic halo. The moment this layer of green watery luster lit up, Lin Yuan's heart was at ease. It seemed that there were no problems in the process of the Vajra butterfly becoming a fantasy breed. The second was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 601. Lin Yuan had been a little worried at the beginning that Chu Si's Vajra butterfly would not evolve in the direction of the jadeite butterfly. If the Vajra butterfly wanted to evolve in the direction of the jadeite butterfly, there were requirements in the combination of willpower runes. The willpower rune needed to have the verdant intent comprehended from plants. However, Chu Si's willpower rune had been comprehended from observing the Vajra butterfly itself. To Chu Si, the willpower rune comprehended from the Vajra butterfly was undoubtedly the most suitable for the Vajra butterfly itself. Now that the Vajra butterfly was still evolving in the direction of the jadeite butterfly, it was a cause for celebration. Lin Yuan had chosen the metalwood dual attribute pollen to match Chu Si's metal-textured willpower rune. It was also because the wood attribute in the pollen could replace the touch of verdant intent in the willpower rune during the Vajra butterfly's evolution. It would have a positive impact during the Vajra butterfly's metamorphosis and evolution. Before Lin Yuan could compose himself for 10 seconds, a voice suddenly rang out. Just as the emerald green radiance was about to expand, the yellow radiance suddenly pierced through the emerald green radiance. The yellow light kept expanding, dispersing the outer metal luster in the blink of an eye. Lin Yuan shook his head. Due to the willpower rune, the Vajra butterfly had not completely evolved in the direction of the jadeite butterfly. However, the emerald light at the beginning showed that the Vajra butterfly was indeed evolving in the direction of the jadeite butterfly at the beginning. The current process could be said to be a mutation in the process of the Vajra butterfly's evolution into the jadeite butterfly. As the yellow, watery luster shimmered, it suddenly became transparent. This kind of permeability was very similar to the permeability of high-quality yellow jades. At that moment, a palm-sized yellow butterfly flew out of the halo and landed directly between Chu Si's fingers. Lin Yuan saw that this yellow butterfly's body was full of moisture, and every part of its body seemed to be carved from lustrous jade. There were also many golden patterns on the light wings. Upon closer inspection, these patterns somewhat resembled the flowers of a peony with golden petals. If the previous Vajra butterfly looked like an ordinary piece of steel, then the current Vajra butterfly was a precious jade that would fascinate people just by looking at it. When he had checked the Vajra butterfly's evolution plan, he had seen the emerald jade butterfly's image. The only difference between the Vajra butterfly and the jadeite butterfly, which was a fantasy breed, was its color and the additional peony patterns on its body. From the quality of the wings, Lin Yuan was certain that his previous thoughts were correct. The Vajra butterfly had indeed mutated on the path of evolving into the jade butterfly. He did not guess too much and used Morbius True Data to check the attributes of the Vajra butterfly after it had become a fantasy breed. Fey name, Yellow Jade Golden Butterfly, Spirit Species, Chrysalis/Chrysalis, Fey Grade, Bronze, 10/10, Fey Type, Metal, Fey Quality, Fantasy Eye Skills Frowny Face Wing Block, condenses a hard metal on the wings to block. When blocking, there is a certain chance that the blocked force will be reflected back. Gold Jade Shield, quickly attaches to the target and condenses a solid yellow jade shield that can follow the target's movements. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Counterattack Tremor. When attacked, a portion of the damage will be reflected back in the form of an energy tremor, regardless of whether it is a physical attack or a magical attack. Shield Explosion Counterattack. Shatter all the shields on the target and condense the greatest attack that the shield can withstand into one strike, causing huge damage. After checking the attributes, Lin Yuan found that the Vajra butterfly's name had become the Yellow Jade Golden Butterfly. Its quality had also changed from the previous legend to Fantasy Eye. When he looked at the normal wing block, Lin Yuan found that the wing block, which originally only had a defensive effect, could now block damage. There was also a certain chance that the damage received would be reflected. It could be said that just this damage reflection effect made the yellow jade golden butterfly's normal wing block undergo an earth-shattering change. However, Lin Yuan's heart suddenly rang loudly. He felt that the damage reflection ability was a prelude to recklessness no matter how he looked at it. When he saw the yellow jade golden butterfly become a fantasy breed and its new exclusive skill, Shield Explosion Counterattack, Lin Yuan could not help but hold his forehead with his hand. He finally knew what was going on with the sharpness behind the shield-like heavy feeling in the willpower rune that Chu Ci had comprehended. The exclusive skill, Shield Explosion Counterattack, directly shattered all the shields and converted the shield's original damage resistance into attack power to launch a powerful blow. It was equivalent to sacrificing all the defensive abilities of a defense-type spirit chi professional and instantly becoming a power offense-type spirit chi professional. Moreover, the stronger the defense-type spirit chi professional, the more outstanding their attack power would be. As Lin Yuan watched the evolved yellow jade golden butterfly flutter in front of Chu Ci, he only felt more and more angry. He did not know whether Chu Ci's willpower had determined the yellow jade golden butterfly's evolution direction. Or was it the yellow jade golden butterfly's evolution fulfilling Chu Ci's wish? Lin Yuan felt that compared to him, an all-around spirit chi professional who wore the skin of a healing-type spirit chi professional, Chu Ci was more like a combat-type spirit chi professional. At this moment, Chu Ci was more like a combat-type spirit chi professional who wore the skin of a defense-type spirit chi professional. At this moment, he should be able to declare his Iron Bucket Sisters transformation plan bankrupt. The previous 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 3 o'clock had all been implemented very well. However, after Fine Steel became a yellow jadeite golden butterfly, all of his plans were put on hold. Even Lin Yuan's plan to modify the Iron Bucket's younger sister had died before he could implement it at 4 o'clock p.m. However, Lin Yuan had to admit that even if his plan to transform his Iron Bucket sister failed, he would not be able to do so. The Vajra butterfly's exclusive skill, Shield Explosion Counterattack, was definitely powerful. In fact, just the exclusive skill, Shield Explosion Counterattack, had established Chu Ci's combat system as a defense-type spirit chi professional. The Jadeite Golden Butterfly and the Luminous Iron Wild Bull were Chu Ci's contracted phase. The Obsidian Iron Wild Bull was reckless in the open, the Yellow Jadeite Golden Butterfly was reckless in secret, and Chu Ci was reckless in her heart. Lin Yuan simply did not know how to ridicule Chu Ci's boorish combination. Unlike Lin Yuan's melancholy, the more she looked at the yellow jadeite golden butterfly, the more she liked it. He could feel the yellow jadeite golden butterfly's second exclusive skill, Shield Explosion Counterattack. Chu Ci felt that there was simply no exclusive skill more suitable for her than the Shield Detonation Counterattack. Chu Ci said to Lin Yuan after thinking for a moment. Lin Yuan, I need to choose more phase with shield-type abilities in the future. The third one. End of chapter. Chapter 602. Lin Yuan understood Chu Ci, so he understood why she had such an idea after hearing what she said. Chu Ci had such thoughts because she had sensed the yellow jadeite golden butterfly's exclusive skill, Shield Explosion. However, Chu Ci knew that as a girl, she had to protect herself. Even if it was for the sake of recklessness, Lin Yuan was still rather gratified. Lin Yuan looked at the yellow jadeite golden butterfly and said to Chu Ci. Why don't I help you directly upgrade the yellow jadeite golden butterfly from bronze X/fantasy I to silver? This way, the yellow jadeite golden butterfly will also have an additional silver skill. Chu Ci shook her head and stuck out her tongue. Little Wing has just become a fantasy breed. I want to do some actual combat on Star Web before advancing Little Wing's grade. Chu Ci was a practical fighter. She liked to train her Fey abilities and exclusive skills through actual combat. Lin Yuan nodded and looked at the peony patterns on the yellow jadeite golden butterfly's wings. At this level, the peony pattern on the yellow jadeite golden butterfly had not shown any effect yet. It only existed as a kind of decoration. However, after a fae underwent a metamorphosis, every obvious change on its body wouldn't be that simple. Just like when Chimey had evolved into the stream-cloud azure bird, the cloud patterns that appeared on its body only showed their effects when it evolved into the twilight starbird. The peony pattern on the yellow jadeite golden butterfly should have the same effect as the cloud pattern on Chimey's wings. However, he could not help but ridicule her naming ability in his heart. The obsidian iron wild bull was called Little Iron Nugget, and the yellow jade golden butterfly was called Little Wings. In Lin Yuan's opinion, the obsidian iron wild bull might as well be called Black Dazhuang. As for the yellow jadeite golden butterfly, who had deceived his feelings, Lin Yuan expressed that he was too lazy to waste his brain cells to give it a name. Now that the emerald jade butterfly had completed its evolution, he wanted to let Chu Ci contract the fairy source-type life form, the burning sunflower. Lin Yuan raised his hand, and a coconut-sized, dark green cactus appeared in his hand. The spikes on the dark green cactus were not hard, and they would bend when pressed hard. Moreover, these spikes weren't prickly when held in his hands. They just looked a little scary. Black and red marks appeared on the dark green skin of the cactus. It was as if the dark green skin had been burned and corroded by a dark red substance, forming many scars on the surface. The body of the burning sunflower, which was shaped like a cactus ball, didn't look very beautiful. However, the two large flower buds on the top of the ball were faintly revealing scarlet petals that were exceptionally bright. It was as if it would blossom as soon as a condition was met. Lin Yuan placed the burning sunflower in front of Chu Ci. This is a fairy source-type life form. Its abilities are very compatible with your obsidian iron wild bull silver abilities. You said that the obsidian iron wild bull silver skills aren't easy to use. You don't have to worry about that now that you have the burning sunflower. Chu Ci looked at the cactus-shaped object and thought it was just an ordinary plant fae. However, he did not expect it to be a source-type life form. Although Chu Ci had become Sang Yue's disciple, she spent most of her time training and improving her strength. He hadn't really broadened his horizons. Thus, she had never seen a fairy source-type life form known as a source-item aristocrat. However, Chu Ci knew that source-type items had to meet certain requirements before they could be contracted. He asked Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, what do I need to do to contract the fairy source-type burning sunflower? Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan placed the burning sunflower in her hand and said, that's right. You can directly enter the contract. You don't need to do anything. Upon hearing that, she looked at the burning sunflower in her hand and understood that Lin Yuan must have dealt with this fairy source-type life form. Otherwise, ordinary source-type items would not have such a bronze phase aura. Chu Ci was not a creation master and could not understand the contract conditions of the burning sunflower. He did not understand what was so special about the burning sunflower that had the aura of a bronze fae. However, she knew that no matter what, her brother was always silently behind her back, thinking about his own life and helping him pave the way forward step by step. Chu Ci stretched out her hand and pressed her palm on the surface of the burning sunflower's thorns. He activated his mental energy and formed a contract with the burning sunflower. As Chu Ci used her mental energy to contract the burning sunflower, Lin Yuan saw that the dark red scars on the burning sunflower's body suddenly caved in. A large amount of crimson flames gushed out from within these scars. The moment these flames gushed out, Lin Yuan immediately felt like he was being roasted. It caused Lin Yuan to take 2 steps back. The crimson flames that gushed out of the burning sunflower's body were extremely invasive and completely engulfed the burning sunflower's body surface in the blink of an eye. The soft thorns on the burning sunflower's surface immediately became as red as blood after coming into contact with the crimson flames. Soon, the dark green plant-like flesh on the burning sunflower's surface was burned to nothing. Only the frame that was formed by the blood-red thorns was left. There was also a thin layer of crimson flames on the frame that formed a flame yarn. The 2 huge red flowers on the top had already bloomed the moment the scar collapsed. However, the crimson-red flowers were not like ordinary flowers, where every petal was in full bloom. Instead, the petals at the top kept curling inwards, and a few curled petals combined as if forming a shed. The petals at the bottom frantically extended downwards and were more than 3 times longer than the petals growing above. These slender petals that grew from the bottom combined and formed a hammock shape. Crimson flames gushed out of the flower's center, making the entire flower look even redder and more crystalline. At that moment, a small figure was born in each of the flames at the center of the 2 flowers. It took less than 3 seconds for the figure to turn from transparent to solid. Lin Yuan saw that the 2 palm-sized figures had long, flame-like hair. They had pointed ears, jade-like skin, and every crimson pattern on their body was burning with a thin layer of flame yarn. These flame yarns also formed the clothes of the little fairies that were born in the flames. Lin Yuan knew that these 2 little fairies born in the burning sunflower should be the burning sunflower Gemini. This was also why the burning sunflower was called a fairy source-type life form. At that moment, a layer of crimson flames lingered around Chu Si's body, but she was not affected by the flames at all. Instead, the yellow jadeite golden butterfly put a layer of golden jadeite shield on her body to resist the corrosion of the scorching flames on her body. The first was even worse. End of this chapter. Chapter 603. Looking at the flames lingering around Chu Si, Lin Yuan knew that this was the fire elemental immunity she had after contracting the fairy source-type burning sunflower. Not far away from Chu Si was a bronze/epic usnea. This bronze/epic usnea had been specially enhanced by Lin Yuan for Chimey. Compared to the platinum celery vine that Chimey had been eating, it preferred the taste of the usnea. Therefore, Lin Yuan had conveniently placed this bronze/epic usnea in the training room as a decoration. Apart from Chimey, some omnivorous fays in the mansion, including Genius, would occasionally come to eat some leaves on the usnea vines. However, the leaves on the side of this bronze/epic usnea that was close to Chu Si were constantly shriveling. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan hurriedly moved the bronze/epic usnea in front of him. He took a piece of shriveled usnea leaf and saw that the originally plump and juicy usnea leaf had actually become a little shriveled. Lin Yuan had specially picked this usnea because its exclusive skill, energy juice, had appeared after reaching bronze. The exclusive skill, energy juice, was considered the most optimal exclusive skill that the usneas had evolved to make themselves more delicious. This was also the reason why this usnea was qualified to be evolved to bronze/epic by Lin Yuan. With energy juice, the usnea's leaves were especially plump and had a water-locking function that was far superior to ordinary usneas. Obviously, the thin and shriveled leaves were not only caused by the high temperature. Lin Yuan used true data to check on the burning sunflower that Chu Si had just contracted. Fey name, burning sunflower, Fey species, apricot/Gemini, Fey grade, normal, 1/10, Fey type, spiritual/source, Fey quality, normal abilities frowny face burning flame, increases the temperature of the burning sunflower Gemini's flames, and the flames have the effect of stripping away the water hidden in the depths. Lin Yuan's expression froze when he checked. The burning sunflower's normal ability, burning flame, could be considered a kind of enhancement to the burning sunflower Gemini's flames. At the same time, the flames around the burning sunflower Gemini also had the effect of stripping away the water hidden in the target's body. Lin Yuan did not attach much importance to the enhancement of the flames, as the burning sunflower's flame's temperature increase was itself a double-edged sword. While hurting the enemy, he was also hurting himself. However, the burning sunflower flame's effect of stripping away the moisture hidden deep within her body had little effect on her. First of all, as the burning sunflower's contractor, she was immune to its damage. The silver/fantasy obsidian iron wild bull was a lump of iron, even though its body could be injured. However, the obsidian iron wild bull's skin had been metallized a long time ago due to its constant consumption of metal. The obsidian iron wild bull was very resistant to the burning sunflower's flames, which stripped away the moisture in its body. For other fays, As long as they did not have a metallic skin like the obsidian iron wild bull, their skin would crack when the moisture was removed. If they were roasted by the burning sunflower's flames for a long time, even if they were not burnt by the flames, they would still die. When Fays moved intensely during combat, their skin might be dehydrated, causing their muscles to tear. He felt that such an effect was even more vicious than some poison-type Fays' toxic abilities. After Chu Ci contracted the burning sunflower, she was overjoyed. He summoned the obsidian iron wild bull with a wave of his hand. He patted its neck and said, "Don't worry. Little iron chunk, you'll have another good partner in the future." Lin Yuan's eyelids twitched wildly. It's true that they're partners, but are they really good partners? After you have the burning sunflower, the obsidian iron wild bull will have to be prepared to be possessed by the burning sunflower and become a roasted cow. Lin Yuan, I feel that after contracting the burning sunflower, I seem to know how to structure my combat system. As Chu Ci spoke, the burning sunflower Gemini that were born from the flames also opened their eyes. After opening their eyes, the burning sunflower Gemini immediately kissed Chu Ci on the left and right. Then, they sat firmly on Chu Ci's shoulder. Fairy source-type lifeforms were favored by spirit chi professionals because they were very strong. On the other hand, it was because fairy source-type lifeforms were far more intelligent than other source-type lifeforms when they were contracted. Looking at the burning sunflower Gemini's behavior and the look in their eyes, this statement was indeed true. The burning sunflower Gemini's small hands were already constantly emitting sparks, which burned and exploded and made sounds. Lin Yuan found that the burning sunflower Gemini were already using his conversation with Chu Ci. They began to use the sound of the flames to simulate and learn the language. Chu Ci liked the burning sunflower Gemini very much. Whether it was their appearance or their small humanoid appearance, it was very easy for people to have a good impression of the burning sunflower Gemini. Moreover, the burning sunflower Gemini had learned how to act coquettishly to female spirit chi professionals in their mother's womb. Chu Ci, sit over there for a while. I'll help you raise the burning sunflower's grade. Later, you can choose an exclusive skill suitable for your bronze burning sunflower's combat system. When Chu Ci heard that Lin Yuan was going to enhance the burning sunflower, she hurriedly waited at the side for fear of disturbing him. Lin Yuan looked at Chu Ci hurriedly leaving and touched the back of his head. Other creation masters were afraid of disturbing, but Lin Yuan was not. Lin Yuan felt that Chu Ci had misunderstood his meaning. He was just afraid that Chu Ci would feel bored staying here. It was better to sit at the side for a while or bring the obsidian iron wild bull and the newly promoted fantasy breed yellow jadeite golden butterfly to familiarize themselves with each other. Lin Yuan took a deep breath and began to enhance the burning sunflower Gemini. In just a few minutes, the burning sunflower Gemini had been enhanced to elite by Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan looked at the burning sunflower Gemini's elite ability, distorted heat wave. The heat wave distortion was considered a defense-type ability. It was equivalent to a layer of high-temperature shield, and the energy in the high temperature offset the damage received to form a defensive effect. It was considered a very suitable ability for Chu Ci's combat style. Lin Yuan continued to enhance the burning sunflower. When the burning sunflower Gemini's grade was raised to elite/epic, Lin Yuan increased the speed of spirit chi conduction. He increased the speed of spirit chi conduction, allowing the burning sunflower Gemini to evolve from elite/epic to bronze. Lin Yuan found that he was even more nervous when enhancing Chu Ci's phase than when he was enhancing them. Lin Yuan did not immediately let Chu Ci come over after promoting the burning sunflower to bronze. Instead, he enhanced the burning sunflower to bronze X/epic before waving at Chu Ci in the distance. Chu Ci immediately ran over. When Chu Ci ran to his side, Lin Yuan checked the 3 exclusive skills that had appeared after promoting the burning sunflower to bronze. End of this chapter. Chapter 604. The 3 exclusive skills that appeared after reaching bronze were Frowny Face Surging Flames, the burning sunflower Gemini fuses together, instantly releasing all of the fire energy stored within the burning sunflower, dealing damage to all targets on the field. Gemini enchantment. The burning sunflower Gemini can be attached to an item, adding the effects of the burning sunflower Gemini's own flames to the item, and the attached target will not be affected by the burning sunflower Gemini's flames. Gemini protection. When the burning sunflower Gemini attaches itself to the target, it will burn away the target's life force and store the life force in the gem on its forehead. When attached to a target, it can inject the stored life force into the target's body. Upon seeing these three exclusive skills, Lin Yuan first excluded the surging heat wave. In Lin Yuan's opinion, the exclusive skill, surging heat wave, was considered a kind of burning sunflower's high burst attack method, so its damage was naturally needless to say. However, this surging flame was not an ordinary eruption method. This was because the target of the surging flames was not just the enemy units, but everyone present. If Chu Ci chose this exclusive skill, she would probably not be able to escape the fate of being a star web host, Poison Beauty. No one would dare to team up with her again. As for the Gemini enchantment and Gemini guard, Lin Yuan was undoubtedly more inclined to the Gemini guard. The Gemini protector was equivalent to giving Chu Ci a portable blood bag. Moreover, it could be used on all of her fays, including the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull. Gemini Guard was equivalent to strengthening the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull's pain absorption and annihilation gaze. When he saw the burning sunflower's exclusive skill, Gemini Guard, Lin Yuan felt that his plan to transform his broken sister into a metal bucket hadn't completely failed. Because the Gemini Care had allowed the burning sunflower to make a guest appearance as a healing type fae, it was the same as adding a layer of flames to Chu Ci's reflective iron bucket. He also added healing abilities internally. This allowed Chu Ci, a boorish fellow who wore the skin of a defense-type spirit chi professional, to have the ability to fight continuously. Even if the burning sunflower was actually a pyromaniac, and the healing ability was just a side effect. However, just this little bit of healing ability was enough to give her fighting prowess a qualitative change. Chu Ci checked the burning sunflower's three exclusive skills and said to Lin Yuan with certainty. Lin Yuan, I want to choose Gemini Care. Lin Yuan had been a little hesitant at first. Although Gemini Care was very suitable for her, Gemini Enchantment was not bad either. If the burning sunflower Gemini could be enchanted on the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull's horns, it would undoubtedly increase the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull's combat power. However, Lin Yuan had not expected that Chu Ci's choice of the burning sunflower would be so clear and decisive. Chu Ci confirmed the burning sunflower's exclusive skill. Lin Yuan used true data to check the burning sunflower's current attributes. Fey name, burning sunflower, spirit species, apricot/Gemini, Fey grade, bronze, 10/10, Fey type, spiritual/source, Fey quality, epic skills frowny face scorching flame, increases the temperature of the burning sunflower Gemini's flames, and the flames have the effect of removing the moisture hidden deep within. Distorted heat wave. When the burning sunflower Gemini attaches itself to a target, it will form a high-temperature heat wave around the target. When the heat wave takes damage, it will cancel out the energy within the heat wave to protect the target. Exclusive skill frowny face Gemini protection. When the burning sunflower Gemini attaches itself to the target, it will take away the target's vitality through burning and store the vitality in the gem on the forehead. When it attaches itself to a target, it can inject the stored vitality into the target's body. Looking at the Bronze X/Epic Burning Sunflower's attributes, Lin Yuan did not expect that the burning sunflower, which he had thought would not bring any surprises, would actually bring him a great surprise. Instead, it brought him a great surprise. After this Fey enhancement, Chu Ci's strength had increased by leaps and bounds, but this was not what Lin Yuan valued the most. What Lin Yuan valued was that Chu Ci had already faintly formed a combat system at this stage. Lin Yuan instructed Chu Ci, sleep early tonight. I still have to go to the venue to watch the All-Star match tomorrow morning. Then he left the training room. Chu Ci excitedly started to practice the cooperation between the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull, the yellow jadeite golden butterfly, and the burning sunflower Gemini in the training room. Lin Yuan returned to his room, leaned on the bed, and picked up his cell phone to check the messages. He found that the group chat with Zhang Xiaobai, Xianing, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran had been silent for the past few days. No one had sent any messages in the group chat since 3 days ago. The Extreme Guild Club's competition had clearly been held 4 days ago. He had also talked with Zhang Xiaobai, Xianing, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran about the situation of the Extreme Guild Club's competition against the Barbarian Snake Guild Club. Lin Yuan looked at Zhang Xiaobai's moments again. He saw that Zhang Xiaobai, who had always been flooding his moments, had not posted anything since he had posted a match cheer 4 days ago. Lin Yuan did not have many friends, so he was more attentive to them. The attentive Lin Yuan knew that Zhang Xiaobai, Xianing, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran should have encountered some problems. According to the time, the problem they had encountered was likely related to the Barbarian Snake Guild Club's competition. Lin Yuan was already lying on the bed. He looked at the time, sat up, and called Zhang Xiaobai. Just as he dialed, Lin Yuan only heard "The number you have dialed is not available." Lin Yuan then called Xianing, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran in turn and found the same situation. Lin Yuan suddenly remembered that Zhang Xiaobai had said in the previous chat. Zhang Xiaobai, Xianing, and the others were members of the reserve team. Therefore, they were required to turn off their cell phones every night when they had a mock competition with the home team members, for fear of affecting the training of the home team members. When he had heard the rules, Lin Yuan could guess that the Extreme Guild Club's treatment of the reserve team members was not very good. Lin Yuan had even sensed something when he, Zhang Xiaobai, Xianing, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran had teamed up to collect the Jade Unicorn Viper's venom. This was because Zhang Xiaobai and the others were originally helping the club's home team members to collect spiritual ingredients. The remuneration they received was comparable to that of a normal Jade Unicorn Viper's venom. Furthermore, according to the team's rules, as a healing-type spirit chi professional, he had to take a portion of the remuneration from Zhang Xiaobai and the others. Tomorrow was the All-Star match, and the Extreme Guild Club, a B-class club, was also invited to attend. As reserve team members, Zhang Xiaobai, Xianing, Lu Pinru, and Tan Ran should also attend. Third, end of this chapter. Chapter 605. When the time came, he would just have to ask him face to face. Lin Yuan knew that Zhang Xiaobai, Xianing, Tan Ran, and Lu Pinru were all strong-willed and would not easily speak up if they were in trouble. However, if a friend who had faced life and death with him was in trouble, he would take the initiative to help even if no one mentioned it. The meeting room of Dragon Gate Guild Club was brightly lit. Even during the new year, none of the Dragon Gate Guild Club members, from the main team members to the reserve team members, were absent. A few members of the reserve team sat up straight in their seats, their eyes shining brightly. He was obviously expecting something. On the other hand, a young girl was lazily lying on the table in the conference room, her hands under the table rubbing her stomach from time to time. The young man with a watermelon haircut next to the girl curled his lips and whispered, "Zhao Xiaochun, didn't I just eat barbecue with you? That's 30 whole roasted pig trotters, and all I got was a roasted corn. Even if you're not full, you don't have to act like you're hungry." Zhao Xiaochun rolled her eyes at Fang Duo and continued rubbing her stomach. After a while, she said weakly, "Fang Duo, you're really inhuman. Not only did you not fight to pay for a meal with a beautiful girl, but you even ate a roasted corn. If I could eat one more roasted corn, I might be full." Fang Duo stared at Zhao Xiaochun, dumbfounded. Was she speaking human language? At this moment, Fang Duo suddenly understood what Zhao Xiaochun had said to him in the evening. "Accompany me for dinner." What did that mean? He felt that he had drawn the wrong point. The point was not to eat, but to accompany. He only needed to watch Zhao Xiaochun eat and accompany her the whole time. However, Fang Duo felt that even if he ate with Zhao Xiaochun, eating a roasted corn wouldn't be considered too much. In any case, even if he gave Zhao Xiaochun 50 more roasted corn, Zhao Xiaochun would still be dead. Long Tao sat on the main seat and could naturally hear the conversation between Fang Duo and Zhao Xiaochun. Long Tao helplessly patted the table and said, "All right, I'll make arrangements for tomorrow's all-star match. If you haven't eaten your fill, you can go to Muxiang Residence tonight to try Muxiang Residence's signature dried pot beef ribs. Muxiang Residence's buffet is quite comprehensive and delicious." Fang Duo looked at Long Tao and blinked twice. She didn't know how the boss of Muxiang House had provoked Long Tao. If Zhao Xiaochun went to eat, wouldn't she bankrupt Muxiang House's buffet restaurant? It wasn't easy for the capital to have a buffet restaurant. When Zhao Xiaochun heard this, her eyes immediately lit up. He asked Long Tao, "Muxiang House? Why haven't I heard of it before? Where's the address?" Hearing Zhao Xiaochun's deadly 3 questions, Fang Duo could only let the owner of Muxiang Residence pray for his own good. Long Tao picked up his phone, pressed it twice, and waved it at Zhao Xiaochun. "I have already sent the address of Muxiang Ju to the group chat." Zhao Xiaochun immediately picked up her phone and her eyes lit up. She no longer looked weak and hungry. Fang Duo was also checking the address of Muxiang Residence in the group chat. However, Fang Duo couldn't figure out what kind of yin-yang medicine Long Tao was selling in his yin-yang gourd. Long Tao coughed and said seriously, "The All-Star competition starts off as an exhibition match. As an A Guild Club, our Dragon Gate Guild Club can't escape from the exhibition match. Plenty will be leading the team this time. Xiaochun and I won't be participating. You 3 main team members and 2 reserve team members will do." Fang Duo hurriedly replied, "Roger, Captain." Compared to the regular S tournament, the All-Star competition was more like a large-scale carnival. Therefore, during the duels between the various teams, they would usually choose to hide their crucial trump cards and display the magnificence of high-grade phase abilities. This wasn't Fang Duo's first time leading an All-Star exhibition team. At this time, Fang Duo was looking at the 5 reserve team members and calculating. When Zhao Xiaochun heard that she didn't need to go on stage for the All-Star exhibition, she was extremely excited. He rolled his eyes and said to Long Tao, "Captain, since I'm not needed for the exhibition match, I'm sure I won't be needed for the coaching match either. Why don't I take this opportunity to take a break and explore the shops?" When Long Tao heard Zhao Xiaochun's words, his face darkened. Even if Long Tao was a hermaphrodite, there was nothing he could do to someone like Zhao Xiaochun, who only cared about food. "I can't, but after the All-Star competition ends tomorrow, I'll treat you guys to a big meal." Zhao Xiaochun, who had lost interest when she heard that she couldn't go to the store, immediately raised her hand in response when she heard that Long Tao was going to treat her in the evening. "Tomorrow is the All-Star match. I don't want to eat too much tonight. In a bit, I'll go to Muxiang Gu and have a taste. If it's delicious, let's go to Muxiang Pavilion for a feast tomorrow night." Hearing Zhao Xiaochun mention the Muxiang Pavilion, the gaze Long Tao looked at Zhao Xiaochun with suddenly became somewhat strange. But then Long Tao nodded and said, "Then we'll listen to Xiaochun and go to Muxiang Pavilion for a meal tomorrow. As for the challenge match and the coaching match facing the audience, it's not convenient for us 4 main members to participate since we're all members of the 100 sequence. Why don't a phone go up?" Chen Hongfeng hurriedly stood up and said, "Captain, I won't embarrass our Dragon Gate Guild Club." Long Tao named Chen Hongfeng as the candidate for the challenge and coaching match with the lucky audience, making the remaining 4 Dragon Gate Guild Club reserve members extremely envious. But thinking that Chen Hongfeng had already been confirmed by Long Tao to participate in the quarterfinals, the 4 reserve members had nothing to compare. It could be said that Chen Hongfeng's status was already a level higher than that of the reserve members. It was very likely that he would be promoted to the main member of the Dragon Gate Guild Club next year. Long Tao heard Shen Hongfeng's promise and said, "Your smooth-toothed elephant lizard's rank and quality have also been raised to Gold X/Epic. Although it hasn't awakened its dragon-type bloodline, it's only a step away from it. The huge-tailed swamp lizard has also reached Gold X/Epic. After this all-star match, I'll help you find someone to raise the huge-tailed swamp lizard from Gold X/Epic to Legendary. It'll also put the willpower rune you comprehended to use." Shen Hongfeng heard the meaning behind Long Tao's words and hurriedly said, "Thank you, Captain." The smooth-toothed elephant lizard swallowed the perfect quality dragon snake orchid flower you gave me last time, and the dragon-type bloodline in its body is being activated every day. It should be able to raise its bloodline and evolve into a dragon-tailed elephant lizard tomorrow or the day after. Long Tao nodded and dismissed the meeting after saying a few more words to Fong Duo. The first time. End of this chapter. Chapter 606. The meeting room of the Rhine Club was also brightly lit. However, the meeting in the Rhine Club's guild conference room had obviously been dismissed for a long time. Shi Su was the only one left in the conference room, holding his chin with his hand and laughing foolishly. At this moment, the door of the Rhine Club was pushed open from the outside. A young man who wasn't tall but looked very mature walked in. When the young man saw Shi Su laughing mysteriously while leaning on his arm, his face revealed an indescribable expression. How could such a fine young man become a fool? The mature youth walked to Shi Su's side and was about to ask Shi Su what was wrong. But he didn't expect Shi Su to speak first. "Captain, what should you do if someone secretly likes you?" Hearing this, the mature-looking young man's expression immediately became awkward. Liang expressed that even though he was the Radiance 100 sequence number 2, he looked rather mature and reserved. As a result, no one had ever come to flirt with him. He was a complete newbie in love. Not only had he never held a girl's hand, he had never even thought about it. "You asked me, what if someone secretly likes you? How would I know? On the other hand, I, Liang, would like to ask you, Shi Su, how do you make someone like you secretly?" Liang coughed lightly. His mature face remained unchanged as he calmly said to Shi Su, "What? I saw you smiling foolishly today, so it turns out that you've fallen in love." Hearing Liang's words, Shi Su immediately jumped up like a cat whose tail was pinched. "Captain, don't talk nonsense. It's someone else who likes me. I'm just thinking about whether or not I should accept her." As he spoke, Shi Su's voice became softer and softer. His face was as red as the braised pork that had just come out of the pot. If it had been someone else, they might have been able to tell that Shi Su was lying. But at this time, Liang's mind was filled with thoughts of how to make people secretly like him, so he obviously couldn't hear it. Seeing Shi Su's reaction, Liang hurriedly comforted him. "If you like her, then accept her. If you don't like her, then you're just forcing yourself." At this time, Liang heard Shi Shuchang say with a long sigh. "Sigh, the key is that the girl gave me a lot of money. The grace of a beauty is really sweet and distressing." Hearing Shi Su's sigh, Liang felt his hands itch. Liang looked at his own hand and thought that even if Shi Su used his lightning tortoise shell, he might still die from his slap. Liang quickly calmed himself down and thought to himself, "It's fine if no one has a crush on me, but Shi Su has a crush on someone, and there's even a little girl who's taking the initiative to give him money. What kind of good fortune is this? How could he still pretend to sigh when he had such good fortune?" Liang asked, pretending not to care. "How much did the girl who has a crush on you give you?" Hearing this, Shi Su said with even more melancholy, 50 million radiance dollars. As soon as Shi Su finished speaking, he heard Liang cough violently. Shi Su turned around and said to Liang, "Captain, if you're not feeling well, why don't you rest in the guild tomorrow? I'll help you lead the team to the all-star competition." Liang immediately stopped coughing and said in a mature manner, No need. My body is fine, and that girl gave you 50 million radiance dollars. She should be very rich, right? Liang would never let Su lead the team to the All-Star competition for him even if he was beaten to death. The Rhine Guild Club was the champion of last year's S tournament. As the captain of the Rhine Guild Club, Liang would be participating in the All-Star competition in a high-profile manner. He might even be able to use this opportunity to meet a girl who fell in love with him at first sight and write a love letter to him. At that time, he would be able to end his 24 years of single life and graduate from the automatic control major with glory. When Su heard Liang's question, he subconsciously replied, "How would I know that Zhao Xiaochun is so rich? How would I know that Zhao Xiaochun is so rich? She actually took out 50 million radiance dollars." As soon as Su said this, he immediately realized that he seemed to have revealed something incredible. In the morning, Su, who had been busy with the S tournament, finally had the time to log into his live streaming room on Star Web after more than a month. He was preparing to do a Star Web live streaming as usual. However, he didn't expect to receive a surprise box. Su rarely live streamed, but he understood that very few people would stuff a lot of money into a surprise box that didn't add any contribution points. He didn't expect to find 50 million radiance dollars after opening it. The working emperor, Su, was dumbfounded by the 50 million radiance dollars reward. When Su looked at the reward on the box, he realized that it was actually a reward from Zhao Xiaochun, who was also a Radiance 100 sequence member like him. The surprise box was a reward that the host could only receive 1 year after it was sent. Su sorted out his thoughts and finally determined that Zhao Xiaochun should have been secretly in love with him a year ago. He thought about the lewd words that Zhao Xiaochun had said to him in the Abyss Dimensional Rift. Su was sure that Zhao Xiaochun had wanted to use this method to attract his attention, but he hadn't reacted in time. Originally, Su didn't have any thoughts about Zhao Xiaochun. However, after thinking about it, Su felt that since he was single, he couldn't let down a girl's affection. Somehow, the more he thought about it, the more images Su had in his mind. When he was giggling earlier, Su had already thought of his daughter's name. When he thought about his daughter, Xiaochun, who looked fair and tender, Su couldn't help but curl up his mouth again. He let out a he giggle. When Liang heard Su mention Zhao Xiaochun, he didn't react for a moment. When Liang came back to his senses, his jaw almost dropped to the ground. After a long while, Liang said suspiciously, "Isn't Zhao Xiaochun someone who only likes handsome men?" After Liang said this, he realized that what he said was wrong. Just as he was about to change the topic, he didn't expect to hear Su say this in a serious tone. "If Zhao Xiaochun didn't like handsome guys, she wouldn't have fallen for me at first sight." Liang looked at Su's confident look and was stunned. Liang felt that he and Su both had the appearance of a mature youth. Other than his height, Liang was confident that he was not worse than Su in any other aspect. Was it because of the stubble on Su's chin? Touching his chin, Liang decided to grow a beard from now on. The more Liang looked at Su, the more he felt that Su was an expert. Otherwise, Zhao Xiaochun wouldn't have been willing to give him 50 million radiance dollars to pursue him. Zhao Xiaochun should be going to the S tournament tomorrow. Do you want me to create an opportunity for you? Su shook his head and said mysteriously, "No need, she likes to eat." "No need, she likes it. I've already used the money Xiaochun gave me to open another restaurant. The second one was even better." End of this chapter. Chapter 607. At this point, Su's expression became even more sincere and resolute. "I also secretly told Long Tao about me and Xiaochun. When the time comes, Long Tao will bring Xiaochun to my restaurant for dinner. Confessions should be left to boys." Looking at Su's unfathomable look, Liang felt that he should learn more from Su on the road of love. Following an expert like Su was definitely the right choice. At the same time, Liang was somewhat vexed. If he had known that a master like Shi Su was hiding by his side, she might even have a child by now. The next morning, after Lin Yuan woke up, he cut the hair that was originally covering his earlobes to his ears. After showering, Lin Yuan chose a set of spirit chi clothes with white and blue colors embellished with some platinum-colored silk patterns. The lock made of dragon species fey leather and scales extended from the waist all the way down to the calf. It made the white and blue spirit chi clothes look a little more heroic. He could not help but sigh. When Yu's lifestyle class spirit chi occupation, the weaver, was probably going to rise from class 3 to class 4. Not to mention the exquisite design of the spirit chi clothing, even the craftsmanship was a level higher than when he first made the clothes for himself. After leaving the room and eating breakfast, everyone prepared to head towards the all-star competition venue. Lu Jie said as he helped Chu Ci carry her backpack. The all-star competition will be held in the Palace of Radiance. I have already prepared lunch in the Fey storage box. Let me know if you are hungry. Chu Ci said hurriedly. Thank you, Brother Lu. Lin Yuan realized that Lu Jie really doted on her and would always ask her what she liked when cooking. Everyone in the manor, including the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer, treated her well from the bottom of their hearts. This made Lin Yuan very happy and touched. He knew his sister very well. She was the kind of person who was not good with words and very slow to warm up. It was the care and love of the other people in the manor that allowed her to blend in so quickly. Lin Yuan didn't know much about the all-star competition and usually didn't pay much attention to it. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not know that the all-star competition's venue was actually the Palace of Radiance. The Radiance Palace could be said to be the second largest venue in the Radiance Federation after the Radiance Sacred Hall. Unlike the Radiance Sacred Hall, which represented the Radiance Will, the Radiance Temple was undoubtedly much more relaxed. The Radiant Light Palace was open to all Spirit Chi professionals, and even non-Spirit Chi professionals could enter as long as they had a ticket. However, the Radiant Light Palace also had a strong sense of government. In a sense, the Radiant Light Palace belonged to the Radiant Sacred Hall. It had always been the staff of the Radiant Sacred Hall who managed the Radiance Temple. Venues like the Radiance Palace had always been the place to hold the Radiance 100 sequence selection in the past. Last year, the finals of the S tournament were not held in the Palace of Glow. Instead, it was held in the Starlight Palace, which was one level lower than the Radiance Palace. However, this time, the Guild Alliance had requested to hold the All-Star competition in the Radiant Light Palace. It could be seen that the scale of this year's All-Star competition was much larger than the previous ones. It could be said that the Guild Alliance had spent a lot to organize this event. When you didn't summon the Sunlight Egret as she usually did. Instead, he spoke to Lin Yuan. Young Master, every ticket for the All-Star competition includes the Guild Alliance's official flying phase for transportation services. There are now 10 soft feather unicorn birds waiting outside. Hu Quan interrupted and said, the Guild Alliance has really spent a lot of money. There are 200,000 seats in the Radiant Light Palace, which is equivalent to sending out 200,000 soft feather unicorn birds at the same time. Just the transportation cost of 20 soft feather unicorn birds for a day is no less than 1 trillion radiance dollars. Upon hearing Hu Quan's sigh, Lin Yuan shook his head. The Guild Alliance had spent such a huge price to send out the soft feather unicorn birds for transportation. It was probably not just for the service. It was more likely that the 200,000 spectators would be riding different flying fays. Tens of thousands of different types of flying fays would gather together. As some fays were natural enemies or predatory, they might attack each other uncontrollably. Many Spirit Chi professionals' flying fays were not contracted but bought from creation masters at a high price. This also caused the Spirit Chi professionals who were piloting the flying fays to be unable to have perfect control over their flying fays. If the Guild Alliance did not regulate this, there was bound to be chaos. After sighing, Hu Quan turned his eyes and said to Lin Yuan, tell me to reconsider my proposal to build a Fey carriage. Now that we have so many spatial magnets and floating silver threads, we can already build a supreme-grade Fey carriage. Now that I have so many spatial magnets and floating silver threads, I can create a supreme-grade Fey carriage. Clearly, Hu Quan coveted those spatial soft silver threads and spatial magnets. Upon hearing Hu Quan's words, Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and said, "Uncle Hu Quan, since you want to do it, then build the Fey carriage first." Lin Yuan had already made it clear that he wanted to hire a creation master. Sky City only had him and no other creation masters, so it was obviously impossible for it to develop quickly. This was because Lin Yuan's current problem of not being able to upgrade his Fey's grade was already an urgent need to be resolved. Otherwise, Lin Yuan could not possibly consume spirit chi crystals to upgrade Hu Quan's vitality sloth. In Lin Yuan's opinion, if he wanted to rope in a creation master, he had to rope in a class 4 creation master. A class 3 creation master could not solve many practical problems. In Lin Yuan's opinion, if he wanted to rope in a creation master, he would need to rope in a class 4 creation master. A class 3 creation master wouldn't be able to solve many practical problems. Sitting on the soft feather unicorn's back and looking down from a high altitude, Lin Yuan felt very comfortable. The soft feather unicorn was a very high-end Fey. It was small, fast, and very comfortable to ride. It had horns on its head and scales on its wings. Its feathers were yellow and had a hint of auspiciousness. The soft feather unicorn was a very high-end Fey. It was small, fast, and very comfortable to ride on. The soft feather unicorn in charge of picking up the passengers were all gold. Lin Yuan checked the 10 soft feather unicorn in charge of picking up the passengers and found that 4 of them were flawless. As they got closer to the Radiant Light Palace, there were more soft feather unicorn in the sky. When Lin Yuan could see the Radiant Light Palace, he was surrounded by many soft feather unicorn. If Lin Yuan had to use 2 words to describe the scene in front of him, Lin Yuan really had to hesitate for a while and did not know if he should use prosperous or lively. Lin Yuan had been in the royal capital for a long time, but he did not have many opportunities to walk around in the royal capital. Therefore, he had never seen the Radiant Light Palace before. When Lin Yuan knew that the Radiant Light Palace had 20 seats, he felt that it might be very crowded. However, after seeing the scale of the Radiant Light Palace, Lin Yuan felt that it could accommodate 600,000 people at the same time. Third, more. Nighttime. Seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 608. The soft feather unicorn landed, and Lin Yuan met up with everyone. Lu Jie said as he took out the ticket from his pocket. "Young master, the ticket I took is the Radiance 100 Sequences internal ticket. It's considered a benefit that the Guild Alliance gives to the Radiance 100 Sequence members. With the tickets, we don't have to wait here for the staff of the Palace of Glow to arrange for us to enter. We can go directly to the special passage." Lin Yuan felt comfortable being blown by the wind in the sky. He stretched in satisfaction and followed Lu Jie to walk inside through the special passage. At this moment, Chu Ci suddenly called out and pointed to the side. "Look, there are masks over there. Why don't we each buy a mask and wear it inside?" Everyone looked in the direction Chu Ci was pointing and immediately saw a stall selling all kinds of masks. Most of these masks were engraved with the logo of the various clubs and guild, as well as cartoon portraits of the club members. Everyone walked to the front of the stall and suddenly saw a silver mask on the stall. The mother of Bloodbath reached out to pick up the silver mask, and everyone subconsciously looked at Lin Yuan. Upon sensing everyone's gaze, Lin Yuan scratched his head awkwardly. Seeing that everyone had the intention to buy, the stall owner immediately introduced. "You know Black, right? He's the little hero who fought his way to the Celestial Stairway, the one who achieved everything on the Celestial Stairway. There aren't many of these masks in stock. I had to work overtime to urge a few Class 1 spirit craftsmen to rush the production. They're all made of stainless steel and plated with a layer of bronze-grade spirit material, clear silver." The mother of Bloodbath asked directly. "Boss, I want this mask. How much is one? The boss smiled honestly and stretched out his hand, 10 radiance dollars each. Lin Yuan looked at the stall owner's honest smile and felt that the owner's heart was black. However, the mother of Bloodbath clearly did not care about this and directly traded 100 radiance dollars to the vendor. Then he put the silver mask on his face. Chu Ci smiled as she reached for a silver mask and put it on her face. At the same time, he handed one to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, you look like black the most when you wear this mask, right? Upon hearing Chu Ci's words, the stall owner interrupted. This little brother looks kind. He doesn't have that cold aura. He doesn't look like this little brother when he wears it. It's just that this little brother is slightly shorter. Lin Yuan saw the stall owner point his finger at Listen and realized that Listen's eyes were really somewhat similar to his after wearing the mask. Chu Ci often browsed the Star Web and was a frequent visitor to the Star Web video library. Even though he had never told her that he was black, Chu Ci knew that he was black. However, when Chu Ci saw Black's battle, she immediately recognized Chimey. In fact, even if there was no Chimey, as a family member who had been with Lin Yuan for over a decade, Chimey would still be able to help Lin Yuan. She could recognize him just by looking at his eyes behind the mask. It was precisely because she knew Black's identity that she was not complacent when she was regarded as the most talented genius of the younger generation on Star Web. Instead, it was because he knew that there were still many areas for him to work on. He put the silver mask back and felt that he was too narcissistic for wearing his own mask. Suddenly, Lin Yuan saw an inconspicuous mask in the back corner. He had some impression of the person on the mask. It seemed that his first Celestial Stairway promotion duel was against this Spirit Chi professional. Furthermore, he had encountered this Spirit Chi professional in the Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift, so it could be considered fate. Lin Yuan recalled that this person's name seemed to be Chen Hongfeng. Lin Yuan put on Chen Hongfeng's mask on his face. He walked all the way through the special passage. Lin Yuan found that there was a Spirit Chi professional wearing the Radiant Light Palace's staff uniform every 100 meters on both sides of the passage. These Spirit Chi professionals were the attendants of the Radiant Light Palace. Looking at the densely packed attendants, Lin Yuan knew that this all-star match might be a grand carnival and carnival, but the all-star match would be a grand carnival. However, the requirements for order were also extremely strict. If there were any special incidents, there would be an attendant every 100 meters who could rush over in time to deal with the emergency. After leaving the special passage, I arrived at the resting area of the club guild members. After passing through the resting areas of the various club guilds, they arrived at the official venue. In reality, the special passage was set up mainly for the players of the club guilds participating in the all-star competition. Chu Ci looked around curiously along the way. Upon seeing Chu Ci's curious look, Lin Yuan reached out to touch her head. He pressed down the Erecta Hogue on Chu Ci's head and said, "You are a defense-type Spirit Chi professional. In the future, you will also form your own team. At that time, you will also be able to participate in team battles." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Chu Ci looked at him with sparkling eyes and asked, "Lin Yuan, can I form a team with you? Lin Yuan, can I form a team with you?" Before Lin Yuan could speak, Lu Jie, who was beside Chu Ci, spoke up. "Young Master has also established a club guild. Next year's all-star competition will also be held after the quarterfinals. If we go smoothly in next year's S tournament, we will also appear in the list of invited guilds for the all-star competition." Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Chu Ci's eyes lit up even more. She quickly changed her words to Lin Yuan. "Big brother, can I join your club guild?" Upon hearing Chu Ci's words, Lin Yuan was startled. Chu Ci was his younger sister, and Lin Yuan had always subconsciously treated Chu Ci as a little girl who needed his care. Previously, when choosing teammates for the club guild, Lin Yuan had subconsciously excluded Chu Ci. However, it was undeniable that Chu Ci was already very strong. Moreover, compared to other Spirit Chi professionals of similar strength, Choose CI had an advantage in terms of potential. Moreover, Choose CI had a master like Cold Moon. Lin Yuan really did not know what level Choose C's strength would reach in a year's time. In fact, just now, Choose C's Silver V/Fantasy Breed Obsidian Iron Wild Bull's strength was already comparable to most Gold Fays. Moreover, the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull was not a Fantasy I Fay but a Fantasy II Fay. The Fantasy II quality allowed the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull to clash with most peak Gold/Legend Fays. In terms of the strength of her main Fay, Choose C's strength could be said to have surpassed Lisan's. After Choose CI got used to the Yellow Jadeite Golden Butterfly's exclusive skill, Cold Moon would raise its grade and quality. Even without Lin Yuan's help, the Yellow Jadeite Golden Butterfly's grade and quality would be raised by Cold Moon. In that case, Choose CI was now qualified to join Lin Yuan's club guild. First update, asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.